Should we start the podcast?
We have intros. Do you get intros? I don't know how professional our podcasts are.
Because you don't listen to any of them.
Your intros are shit, to be fair.
To be honest, our intros would be a lot more professional if Craig was nowhere fucking near them.
Yeah.
I think that's true of ours too.
I don't really go on the podcast anymore. I've got my own little network going on.
Oh, that's what you've been hiding.
Yeah, Craig's fucked us off. He's let the money, the ego get to his head.
I'm the new Ben.
I was getting a bit upset actually, Nick, because every time you introduce Paul D and Paul, what's his name, P-Dubs, you say the best two Pauls in podcasting, and I'm like, hey, what the fuck? But then I remembered I'm the Orbiter, aren't I? So that's fine.
Exactly. You know, if you've got pseudonyms and stuff, then it's all good. It's all fine. Yeah.
So you do the intro because you're the
intro boy.
Yeah. Fuck. Okay.
Come on.
What are you drinking, lads? Or should we do
shall
that?
we do
let's start this first.
After the intro.
Yeah. He's finished his novelty already, hasn't he?
Right, shut up.
Come on then. Anytime you're ready.
See, he's not going to do it this time, but you're going to keep interrupting me now.
Come on.
Yeah, that's what he does on my podcast. He just, as soon as you're about to open your mouth, that twat starts talking. So you just have to go for it.
Come on.
Right.
3, 2, 1. Vaginal discharge. Anytime you're ready.
Fuck off.
Every fucking time.
Taunting teenagers. It's great hobby.
Cock conquers.
Does it?
Now it's a game we play when we're in work on nights.
Sure it is.
Do you bake?
Explains a lot.
Do you bake them in vinegar? Do
Coughs.
you pickle them in vinegar and bake them like?
Yeah, varnish the helmets.
Yeah.
I've got a 12 there.
Shut up, Craig!
Come on, because I want to drink.
Fucking hell, we're on to another Pope here. Come on.
A what?
Pope. He's the leader of God.
Leader of pedos.
The leader of P-Dabs. And his amazing scooting adventures.
Please, shut the fuck up.
Did anyone else want to laugh?
Shut up, Craig!
I could.
P-Dabs fell off his scooter, yes.
We will
Did he?
I'm sure that will come up. I'm sure that will come up on the podcast if it starts.
We got to mention everyone.
Come on. Come on.
Fuck off.
Actually, you can just mute Craig until you're ready.
We could do
Yeah.
it.
That might actually help.
Hello, internet. I'm Firebolt,
And I'm the Orbiter. Here, I've got to be sensible, haven't I? I feel
and
like
today we have a very special lineup of guests. Care to introduce yourself, people?
well, which one?
Are you just gonna
Did
sit in
they just all
silence?
crash in
We're
at the same
just going
time?
to be quiet, and so we're just going to make it really, really awkward and be very quiet.
So,
I'm Simon, by the way. You probably heard me before.
On of Simon Says and Ghosts, Aliens and Beyond, is it? And
the
that
Epic Florida podcast.
that one, yeah, which is now on YouTube, is it?
Yes, it's a YouTube show as well.
Cool. Next.
I am Nick. Hello.
okay, no
If you don't
explanation.
know Nick, where the fuck have you been?
What else needs to be said? Nothing.
Nothing. That haircut. I am Craig. What am I on?
That
Fuck
Florida
knows.
Guys podcast.
True.
That's on that Florida
guy,
Guys
yeah.
podcast.
Fucking hell,
Love him.
yeah. Ooh, I can crush a grape. What am I on?
Good job.
It's yeah, I'm good. Get hello, everybody, and welcome to Disney Brit.
I'm having a week
Back
off this week.
Christmas. It's Christmas. It's Christmas podcast and this or that.
Right,
Indeed.
welcome to episode 76, is it?
74,
74. Okay, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself.
I think.
Some
So-
episode.
So we're drinking the proceeds of our anniversary YouTube video at the moment.
Yes, we are drinking Swedish glögg.
I call it glog, but
Glurg.
Glögg.
I call it glog, but
It has a umlaut over the O, which is pronounced like
it's wine with shit in it, isn't it? It's with cloves.
Wine.
And
It's not got shit
It's
in it.
wine
It's
with
not
shit in it.
spicy. Although the
You must have heard
cinnamon
of
stick
glog.
in it
It
does
does look
look
like
a
it's
bit
actually
like
got a
shit.
floater in it at the moment.
Yeah,
it does. It's got a what is that?
it's a cinnamon stick.
A cinnamon stick. There you go.
Got a massive one.
A little amputee's turd.
So is it a little bit like mulled wine?
Yeah,
Swedish version of mulled wine, yeah.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And where did you get the jar mugs?
Oh, we just had
Oh,
them.
I don't know. Yeah, they came with the house. No, I don't know. The missus collects weird vessels and boxes and containers and things. They've
You're
got,
making that sound a lot weirder than it is.
No, the thing is, like this jar glass nonsense has been going around for a couple of years. Like it was an American thing, and it's
It's
slowly
an
kind of
American-
picked up over here.
it's
I
the
think
nearest
it
thing
was-
we've got to tankards.
I think it was for like lemonade or something.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't
I think
normally.
Henry VIII used to drink one of his wives out of one of them, I think.
Drink one of its wives.
And we've
You
got
invited him.
pass that over. What we've got on standby to. I've got 2 big bottles of beer in the fridge for later on.
Two
But-
big bottles of beer on the wall, 2 big bottles
But-
of beer.
But you'll
big
recognise that. I take it.
Oh,
Mead.
Oh,
What
what do you
lovely-
mean, is it?
This, yeah, Craig bought his way onto this episode by sending us a bottle of mead.
yeah, look, I've got my reciprocal
Well,
whiskey tea.
is that the one? Yeah, because that's an example of weirdness right there with friendships to the point. As Nick, you keep fucking doing that, pretending to freeze.
No,
It's just like
I'm not pretending to freeze.
I'm thinking.
just not moving. Fucking hell.
It's a vegetarian thing.
He's not a
energy.
fidgeter like everyone else.
Yeah,
He's
What's
this-
a
in
bit
this?
He needs a bit of meat inside him.
the internet and weirdness, like with this podcasting network is fucking weird. That like I say, there's you 3 guests on here, and we've only met one of you, and yet
I've
you,
not met
Craig and us are kind of swapping. Although if you had, there should be a box arriving for you,
Like most of my friends today,
a lockdown survival kit.
especially with like coronavirus, I have never met in person.
Well, I think with coronavirus, it's going to make the kids even more socially awkward. So there's going to be less and less meeting.
I don't think that's possible for me. Maybe I'll become like socially adept. It'll go like so far negative that I'll actually become like,
app?
really
You
popular.
might just become an app.
That would be nice.
I think podcasting is a very odd medium for this kind of thing anyway. So if I think back to starting Diz After Dark with Paul Boniface, R.I.P. We think, I don't know, he's probably still alive.
And the pub
But
singer.
we started that.
He's got an afro.
Yeah,
Bring back the pub
He,
singer.
we started that podcast in 2012, and we met a few months afterwards for the first time at the same event. I met Craig.
Mouse meat.
So- Hang on.
2012.
You started that podcast before you met.
Yeah.
So how did you kind of? I take it. Do you still talk to him? Are you still friends, or is?
Yeah. There was no
Boniface
fallout.
is lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well,
So yeah, well, I'll do my bit of the story first.
yeah, I'll go
So-
and get a drink while you're doing that.
So
Off you go.
in 2009, I went to Florida, And I come back clinically depressed. Now, I'd been in 93 and I'd been in 2001. But in 2009, we all went, and we went to a villa with all the family, yourluxuryvilla.com. Come back, not clinically depressed, but really sad. Goes on iTunes, on my laptop, in the kitchen, on the table, and types in Walt Disney World, right? To the search on iTunes. And up come a load of podcasts. I didn't even... Well, I did. I was listening to the Ricky Gervais podcast at the time. But in this plethora of podcasts, I was looking for Walt Disney World music, basically. I found podcasts. Disney Brit was one of them. I got into Disney Brit big style.
I don't think I've ever listened to them.
Don't.
They were really... They were the first UK Disney community, I would say, on the back of the podcast. Yeah. And you would email in and he'd read. So I was commuting from Liverpool to Preston. So I had a 50-minute drive, twice a day, every day of the week. And I'd listen to podcasts and they'd read out your email and they'd comment, and then they added me as a friend on Facebook, and I'm like, whoa. So I emailed them because one of them was leaving. And at the time, Pop Idol was a thing, and X Factor was a thing, and everything like that. So I said, why don't you just do Disney Brit Idol? And interview, get people to send in a little 5-minute piece or whatever it was about who they are and a little segment for the show, and then you just do like a face-off and a vote, and you've got Disney Brit Idol, and the winner gets a place on the show. And he did, and it was rigged, and he rigged it so that the girl who was a computer programmer, I think, was she?
She was. She built websites and stuff,
and she was a lovely girl. Nothing against her at all. But the vote was rigged so that she won, so that they could basically milk her and get a website out of it and stuff. And Nick, Boniface, and Dolan all failed, didn't you?
I can't remember if Dolan applied. I'm not sure if Dolan applied or not. Me and Boniface did. I got down to the top two, so it was me and this girl. And after it all, the funny thing was, like, so when she won,
by one vote,
after voting closed, apparently, she was on the show for about 2 months before she left.
Yeah, she
didn't stick around.
She wasn't on very long.
So Boniface had contacted me and said, look, I wanted to, I did it because I wanted to do a podcast. Obviously I wasn't successful with this. Do you fancy trying to do a podcast together? And I thought, yeah, okay. So we had a call one night. It was supposed to be a kind of like test, just us two talking, see, how it works and everything like that. And that was the first episode. And I mean, those first episodes, some of them are still around. I mean, they are, I imagine, absolutely appalling.
Yeah.
Because the angle we wanted to, so Disney Brit was very saccharine, and I don't know if you know this, Craig. I was actually a guest on Disney Brit. I did a trip report for them, probably about 2010.
I remember
something like that.
I remember the pub background noise.
Oh, that was a little bit later on. Actually, that wasn't even right at the start.
All right. That first season's gone missing, though, isn't it?
That was my idea. I said to Boniface.
Sure, if I can get my computer back up and running, I've got from episode 9, but I can't get the computer up and running.
Wow.
I do remember downloading every single one. So, and it's still on the computer, but obviously for some reason the computer won't switch on. That's why I bought myself a Mac.
Yeah, it's odd what's happened to some of the episodes. So we started doing this podcast. We met a few months later because the people behind Disney Brit did a Disney meetup in Birmingham. Yeah. So we went down.
It was May. It was May in 2012 because it was Cup final day and Liverpool got beat by Chelsea.
There you go. So we all went down to Birmingham, So me and Paul finally got to meet up after recording about 3 or 4 months worth of episodes. We spoke to Mr. D briefly, just started chatting to him while he was there. Didn't know who he was, didn't know who we were, but had listened to the podcast, so he knew who we were. And I met Craig for the first time, and that was it. That was the last time I saw most of him for about 6 or 7 years. But the reason why I kind of go back to the whole podcast thing being a weird medium is because we started it, the two of us started it, we added Mr. D. Later on, Craig got more involved and we got Craig to join in. Then when Boniface was taking a few weeks off and asked if I would run the show while he's taking a couple of weeks off, and I said, yeah, that was December 2015 and he hasn't come back. I think he knows the show's still running. And I took it on, and then because of that and because of other things, we then kind of reached out to some other people, hence Paul Washington got involved, Chris Ripley got involved, Boston got involved, and then more recently Sinead and Ryan. The reason why it's so odd though is because we're all over the UK and now Ireland as well. So we don't record podcasts. Most podcasts are people sat in the same room recording. It's not really done remotely. Obviously, coronavirus has increased the kind of remote likelihood of a podcast. But traditionally, it would be just people sitting around. And, I spent 7 years every week or every other week hanging out with a bunch of people as if we were all mates.
Yeah.
Never meeting them. It's bizarre. And I mean, I used to go and meet Craig in London because I used to work in London at the time. So I'd sometimes go and see him when he was having a break. So we'd hang out for a bit, and then obviously we went to Orlando for a weekend, and then later on I went away with P-Dubs to Disneyland Paris for Run weekend.
See, I wanted to mention, because one of the things we were going to do, or I was going to say, because do you remember Pate that's been on this before? Craig, you might remember. He's
the Netherlands fella.
Yeah. He was going to come on tonight, but he's had to go pick somebody up from uni, so he couldn't make it. But that would have meant that almost everyone who's ever been a guest on this show would have been on.
Well,
except for one who I believe you've also been to Disneyland Paris with, Nick.
Not on this show. Jeez. On our very briefly lived spin-off show.
Ah, right, okay. That was what did we call it?
The Bollocks Report.
That was it, yeah.
Bollocks it was report. Way too high effort to produce, and life shit was going on. So,
and also it was completely tarnished by that twat being on it. Yeah.
Wow.
Very sorry for that.
I mean, you must have got on with him once, though. Surely, at least.
Well, I thought he was fairly normal until I realised he wasn't. But the strange thing is, and this does kind of come back full circle, because had it not been for the podcast, any of the podcasts that I was involved in, Simon wouldn't be sat here now.
Well, I was going to ask.
I wouldn't be sat here.
I was going to ask.
Being invited on.
I was going to ask. One of you, probably Simon, would be the best one for this, because he's not going to get a word in edgeways for the rest of the night, I think. But to tell us about your encounter in Florida, I know it's been mentioned before, but it's an interesting one.
Well, what it was back. I think it was 2015 when I got back. I started listening to podcasts because I never knew anything about what a podcast was until 2015. Didn't have a clue what they were. But then I started listening to one on another network, which was about Star Wars. I listened to all them, and then I thought, I'm sick of Star Wars. Let's get some Florida things. And then Disney After Dark popped up, Universal After Dark popped up, and I started listening to these guys. And then the chance meeting was following them on Facebook, and they said they was in Florida, and it just happened to be at Halloween Horror Nights on the same night I was there. And it was actually Craig's voice at the end of the farewell tour for Bill and Ted, and Craig being 6'7" or whatever he is, standing up. And I was sat 2 rows behind him when they stood up. And then I ran over. And if you actually listen to that show that's on Ego, you can hear Nick say, "Just hang on a minute," and it's me interrupting them as they're walking away.
Oh, is that on
podcast.
Ego? Is it?
Yeah, it's on the Ego.
That is actually because you hear them two talking, and you just hear Nick say, "Hang on a minute," and then it cuts off, and then you hear Nick saying,
See,
and that's me interrupting them right at that exact second.
See, when when the future society that like Bill and Ted Styley springs up based on the After Dark network and the world peace that's been spawned from it, that will be a historic moment. That will be an artifact.
Yeah,
and
that's still there.
I mean, we've spoken this on other shows and everything, but what a surreal experience! You know. We'd gone in. We watched the episode, the Bill and Ted recording. We recorded it for posterity to put out. We didn't have anywhere. We didn't want to taint the Universal After Dark feed at the time, so we said
it wasn't tainting. What it was is we were very aware that they announced before the start of the show and on the signs outside, no audio or video recording.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we were concerned if we'd have put it out on that feed, that might, cause some issue. So we did it on Ego because that was our side one.
And then you walk out, and we were doing a bit of feedback about the show, and then we get approached by Simon, and it's a surreal situation. Because you don't think you're famous, and you're not famous by all, because only a few hundred people listen. But this chance meeting, it just blows your mind, and it's amazing. It's amazing, and
it was the quietest Nick had ever been in his life. I think.
Yeah,
I did not say a word because the thing is, Simon was very aware.
Shocked.
Well, what it was, you knew who Craig was.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And although
you didn't say a word, so I didn't realise it was you until you opened your mouth. I actually said that. I actually remember saying that.
It's a bit of a problem. It's a bit of a problem when you only listen to someone's podcast. So if that person isn't speaking, you're not going to recognise them. No one's ever recognised me, and I mean either by my voice or by sight whenever I've been anywhere. Yeah. Well, my hair's always different, so I mean today it's just I washed it and I'd not done anything with it. That's why it looks like it does today. But it's very strange because like now you almost kind of forge friendships virtually. Or I certainly do.
Yeah.
I don't have. I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking about the topic of friendship, and obviously I don't know the angle you wanted to kind of lead with on it.
We didn't have a plan really.
Okay, but so in like I can count on one hand the number of actual friends I've got.
Yeah,
and when I say one hand, probably about 2 or 3 fingers of people in real life that I consider to be friends. I'm not somebody that has many friends. I'm an oddball. I didn't realise I was an oddball. It took me a long time to realise that I am weird. And how I view friendships and things like that is very different. So if this episode was being recorded about 5 years ago, I'll probably say, oh, yeah, I've got loads of friends. But actually, I haven't. I've got like very few in real life, and I've probably got more now online. Like in this kind of fashion.
I mean, Stuart, my best friend in the whole world, right? There's the meeting, the chance meeting that me and Stuart had was Lanzarote, 1994. Me and Kerry are in the Red Lion watching the England versus USA game after the World Cup at Wembley. So it's September. And we're sitting on a table for 4. This fella comes up with his beard and says, "Are these 2 seats taken?" And I says, because I'm a miserable bastard, "Yes, they are." And Kerry went, "No, they're not." And he sat down, and me and Kerry are talking amongst ourselves, and Michelle, being a nosy cow, sticks her fucking nose in and basically says, "Oh my God, are you from Liverpool? We're from the Wirral." And an awkward conversation took place. And then I buys him a drink. They buy us a drink. We stayed out till whatever hour talking to them. the next night we met up again, and the rest is absolute history. And that friendship has evolved over the years. I used to speak to Stuart every single day of my life for an hour a day easily. And now, because we both work together, I might not speak to him for 2 or 3 weeks now. But that's because family, you've got family time, you've got kids. You know, you've got priorities.
But that's the best thing with like the real friends. You can not be in touch for like a year or more, and they totally get it. They totally understand. I've got a friend I was at college with that generally will not speak for like 2 or 3 years. I mean, I'll see him pop up on Facebook, but because he lives down in London, he'll occasionally pop his head up here and out of the blue, and we'll go out and have a pint. And that'll be an hour talking like it was yesterday last time we saw each other, and then that'll be it for another few years, you know. But
yeah, I mean, and the thing with the podcast is, we reached out because we have a roster and we have a very loose format. On a Monday night, the podcast would suffer because people weren't available. So we wanted to branch out. But we also we wanted to grow our listenership as well at the time, and so we wanted to do a blog because everybody seemed to do a blog, and that's when we reached out to I'm going to say his name, but whatever, that Florida guy, and he come on as a blogger for us, and he come on the show and did, I think, 1 or 2 episodes, but he come on as a guest, and he was a blogger, and it was like, you know, if you're doing a blog for us, it was like reciprocal. That'll grow your viewership on your channel, and you can promote your channel and stuff. And he was never part of the show, and it sort of become a thing that, look, it was cross wires, and we asked him to leave. It wasn't working. Well, since then he's had. So I'm trying to find words. You try, and the network come from that, basically, that we're just trying to be friends. We're trying to create a community of friends.
Yeah. It's blown up big time in the last year, isn't it? Like, with adding shows.
Well, with him and with several others, like the likes of Ben, unfortunately, you attract some people who are not right, maybe, or whatever, who are a little bit loopy, or I don't know what the words are, but
you're being polite.
You encounter some strange people sometimes.
Yes.
I mean, I think realistically, if we all looked at ourselves in a philosophical way, I'm sure we've all got quirks and oddities.
Yes, definitely.
But there are people that have extreme quirks and oddities that also kind of get on the radar as well.
Well, we've got people in America who've blocked us, and we've blocked them, and we've had war with them. You know, Travis, what a fucking twat that man is. But on the face of it, on his Twitters and all that, he's a lovely fella. He's not. He's a cunt. But we've tried to foster a safe environment where our friends can be, you know, we're all friends on the network, and we all like to go, and that's basically it. There isn't a website. We haven't got a website. We should have a website.
We do have a website URL. We just haven't got a website.
Yeah,
we've got it for about another 15 months because I think I bought a 3-year term. None
of us have got the wherewithal to create the website for the hosting.
It's more hassle than it's worth. You better. I mean, I've had websites. We've got a website, but I've just redirected it to the Facebook page because it's like.
Oh, fair enough.
Exactly, you know, and I had Instagram for a bit, but what it is, there's over 30 podcasts in our network, right? And I like to think, I mean, I listen to every single one of them, and I like to think I'm there for every single one of them. Every single person who hosts a podcast, I'm there. If they need to talk to me, I am ultimately a podcast listener. I consume podcasts. I listen to over 80 podcasts. I'm subscribed to over 80 podcasts. I listen to everything. And I'd like to think that any of the podcasts can say, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? What can I change? And I'll tell you honestly, but it's not a criticism. It's just that I'm a listener. I consume podcasts. And what we've got this community built up now. We've got some big podcasts in there. We've got some tiny podcasts.
Yeah.
All my podcasts that are on the big podcasts are tiny.
I see you're having a mass Disney kind of group one coming up, aren't you, for Christmas?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just going to be us kind of. Sorry, I'm looking for my phone. I was gonna share some podcast analytics, but I can't find it. Yeah, we've done it before. We did it before with Theme Park Trader, where we went on their show, they come on our show, record them back to back. Because we've got another Disney podcast now, we thought it would be good to do that. I think everyone's overthinking it.
Kate and Sinead are coming on, aren't they? Have you got the girls off Disney Dream Girls? What are their names again? I've forgotten. Are they coming on?
No, and the only reason for that is it's much easier, and we should do. It's because we're just disorganized. The reason why we're even doing what we're doing is because Sinead and Ryan are now also on Disney Parks and Beyond.
Yeah.
It's much easier when you're liaising. Like Disney Dream Girls, I think they normally record. I want to say they record on like a Sunday morning or maybe a Saturday morning or something. So.
That's
whenever. So I've been on their show before, and it's always like just trying to organise the time to make it kind of work, and trying to get those girls to do a show on a weeknight is impossible. Like we tried to get Michelle on as a guest, and it's a nightmare for her. She's a teacher. They don't like it.
They're both teachers. Yeah, they're both teachers. I mean, they are the biggest all-girl UK Disney podcast, and they're on our network.
Yeah.
And then we've got the biggest two European all-girl Disney podcasts on the network, because the Mickey Waffles are Irish,
that's
then you've
funny.
got the Dream Girls.
I love hearing Kate getting wound up about stuff. I don't know what it is when it's that Irish kind of sense of humour and accent. It's just like, what the fuck and all this, like, it's just. But
she's they're absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
We're so lucky to have everybody who's on the network. We're so lucky to have everybody all in the space together.
Should we talk about some news?
Yeah, we kind of done this in reverse order. I don't think I've talked since the start.
Hang on, is there actually like a concept to this show? I didn't,
we normally start with the news and then go on to the topic.
Cock up the intro.
Yeah.
Paul cock up the intro. Then you do the news for maybe 25, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, according to the last one.
Yeah.
And then to go into the topic.
Yeah. Where they don't know what they're fucking talking about. And Paul tries to go and watch UK Gold for 30 minutes. Tries to wind the show up.
To be fair, though, Paul's watching of UK Gold is probably where you got your end song from this or that. Because I didn't know where that rap came from. And it's from 2 Pints of Lager, your favourite TV show, 2 Pints of Lager and a Packet of Crisps.
That's not on Gold.
What? No.
It's on BBC iPlayer, that one.
It is, yeah.
Well, yeah, down there as well, yeah.
Started watching it the other day, actually.
Go ahead, then.
So I see
some news. Go for it, news boys.
I see the navy's, the military's on readiness to defend our fishing waters.
Yeah, what the fuck is that about? Like, I haven't paid attention to news for the past couple of days, and suddenly we're going to fucking war over like some mackerel.
We're going to war for 0.02% of the economy's incomings. That's what I understand our fisheries to actually be. This whole thing, before we started, I got a Sky News alert saying that at the moment, there is still a big discrepancy between the UK and Europe over the Brexit deal, possibly leading to a no-deal Brexit.
Or as
the
they
whole
keep
thing's-
calling it, an Australian-style deal, which is
Yeah,
no deal at
this-
all.
This is the oven ready deal, right? Oh no! What happened to the oven ready deal? Oh yeah, it didn't exist. So, So essentially, my understanding of the whole situation is in the waters that we do stuff in, of all the fish that we get, we sell 60% of that fish directly to Europe, and now we're basically saying that's all right. We'll do stuff. We'll do things our way. But the UK is not buying that amount of fish, so I don't know where they're sending it to. And on top of that, also most of the UK ships are actually owned by European companies.
I thought it was a couple of classic moves from where was it? Who was it? He went to have that meal with during the week.
Oh yeah. And he saved them with all the fish that he catched in the North Sea.
Scallops.
I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, right? I think all this is smoke and mirrors, right?
Yeah.
I think the deal has been done, but they've got to take it up to the 11th and 12th hour, because if in October they announce the deal is done, then the deal is open to scrutiny for 2 months. Yeah. It's got to be It's probably got to be voted on in Parliament and agreed. Okay. So, if it's a Sunday at the 11th hour, this Sunday tomorrow, right? Sunday the 11th hour, then they'll have to do some sort of emergency vote on it, where none of the MPs will have scrutinised the thousands of pages of.
They've got like a pretty big majority, so I think they could basically pass whatever they wanted to.
Yeah, but they're not voting on anything that they know. They're actually passing a vote on nothing that they've actually read. They've read
hang on, that's exactly what happened last year.
Yeah, exactly. They've they're voting on bullet points and they're voting on headlines. They're not voting on. There's no way an MP can consume that much information in the short amount of time that they're giving them. So what will happen is they'll announce the deal tomorrow. It'll be announced tomorrow, and it'll be too late for them to do anything about it. And as you say, the whip will call into action. You will vote to support this, and it'll get voted through, and then Parliament will be adjourned for Christmas, as planned, and everything it'll just tick over. And there's nothing we can do about it. It's nothing we can do about it anyway. The deal is done.
Swear Bojo's trying to up the ante now that Trump's on his way out to take the title, because
Well,
fucking speech he'd made earlier today, and he was talking about some shit about mung beans. I've no fucking idea what he was talking about.
On
Bizarre.
the stateside thing, I think at this point Trump sort of put in the official motion to say, like, he's kind of officially conceded. He's never going to say it out loud, like, to the press, but he kind of knows.
Well, yesterday the court overturned the last kind of ditch attempt, didn't it? And what was even more hilarious is that was voted on, or that was voted against, by a lot of the very same people Trump has put into that position of power.
Yeah.
Three of them. Three of the Supreme Court judges, whatever they did, voted against it. That'll be his way around it. But
he's kind of something that's quite scary.
He's going to be dragged out kicking and screaming.
Well, he started like no, he won't. He'll get a fucking book deal and he'll be fine.
What Trump?
But he started rushing executions in this last few weeks, which you're not really supposed to do anything.
Yeah, I saw
in this
that, yeah.
interim period, because it's sort of like you've been voted out.
13.
Yeah, so essentially, I think there's not been executions for like years and years, and now there's been, I think, at least 9 this year, and more lined up.
And so far, they're all African Americans as well.
I haven't checked that fact, but I know the one yesterday was.
now, but also during this time of him losing the election and refusing to concede, he's also raised $250 million through donations to fight the fraud.
Yeah.
And if you read the small print of that, a very small portion is going to fight the fraud, and a lot of it is to pay off. Shut up, Siri. And a lot of it is to pay off the debt of the election that he's just lost.
Yeah.
Well, it's so when you set up these campaigns, it's the same when you are running for election or anything like that. There's two different ways you can set it up. This is from watching CNN. I learned this, so obviously people are going to shout by us, or whatever. But there's two ways. One is a way where X amount has to be, or all the money has to be used to going towards the costs of the campaign, whether that's your transport costs or your hotel bills or your advertising or leaflets, whatever. So it's all kind of summarized. The way that Trump has done it is the other way of doing it, which is only a small percentage needs to actually be used for anything like that. So in this instance, I think the small print, it's something like 5% of your donation will actually be used for the campaign.
That makes me wonder whether or not he's preparing for, because I did hear a while ago that, not long ago actually, a lot of the people that he's personally indebted to haven't been able to really do anything about it while he's been president because of his position. But as soon as he's out of the White House, he's going to be fair game for court cases and all sorts. It's like
that's what this is gearing up for. I mean, obviously the big rumblings are that as soon as he is out, the state of New York will put in a lawsuit against him. For things that he's done towards tax.
Which reminds me, have we heard anything about Rudy Giuliani recently? I know he went into hospital, didn't he?
He got COVID. He's had an interesting year.
He's had an interesting 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Or 2 months, actually, because I think Borat 2 came out about 2 months ago now.
I haven't seen that yet.
So he appeared in a Borat sequel by accident, had his hair melt on live TV, and caught COVID, and also arranged
and farted,
Yep,
an announcement of pursuing election fraud in a gardening centre's car park.
That was ace.
The Four Seasons, just not the 4 seasons he was expecting to roll up to.
Everything that they've done, though, right, is, again, it's smoke and mirrors. They know they've got no chance because they know there's no election fraud. However, if they could have got the Republican overlords and governors and whatever, because American politics is so complicated, to overturn and throw out the votes, then Trump would have stayed in. That is literally all they've got. They wanted to get to, what date is it? Where the electoral colleges all have to declare. Is it the 14th or the 16th?
Yeah,
tomorrow, is it? So Monday the 14th, yeah, when Apple Fitness Plus comes out, same day, yeah.
That's how Craig works out.
I love how that's your reference.
Yeah, that's how Craig works out what day of the month it is. It's what Apple.
Well, no, that's actually in the Constitution. That it has to be announced on the day that the Apple Fitness Plus comes out.
How much use is that going to get, really, from you? I mean,
the Trump vote or the Apple Fitness
the
Plus?
Apple Fitness.
The Apple Fitness Plus.
Oh, lots of use. I've already subscribed. I'm right in.
Just stick it on his watch and forget about it.
Has it got masturbating as an exercise?
Oh, Nick, don't do that. I'm getting flashbacks to Florida there.
Nothing like that. It's more like.
Oh, Nicholas.
Great gag for podcasting.
Yep.
Yes. Well, that I'm hoping that people only hear the audio.
Excuse the pun.
You'll have to make more noises.
Yeah. You can insert those in post-production. Yeah, it's got a bit quiet for Giuliani. I mean, look, I think what has become apparent to Trump is that the people around him are idiots and yes men. I think he
Because
genuinely
he fired all the
genuinely
intelligent
believed-
people for saying no to him.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I think the thing is, he's realised now. You know, he knew going into this election it wasn't looking good for him, which is why he started making all the excuses. You know, he was talking about electoral fraud back in August, and all this kind of
2016.
stuff. Well, yeah, but I mean, ramping up to this election, he was, you know, as soon as it was going to be postal ballots, you know, it's going to be fraud, and it's going to be the biggest fraud. You know, he was gearing his followers up. You know, people today, people yesterday that I saw today on Twitter, after the last court case, after that one that we just talked about got overturned, are saying, you know, the country is ruined. We've lost him. You know, we're losing him. The country's going to be going to hell. And I'm like thinking, what's the country been doing for the last 4 years, if not going to hell? You know, it's been an absolute shit show. And in fact, if we didn't have Boris Johnson in charge of our country, I think everyone would be looking at America and laughing. Unfortunately, we've got our own idiot in charge. So it's not so funny now.
I mean, we're bouncing all over the Atlantic here, but I think once Brexit is officially done, 1st of January, Boris will be on borrowed time and he'll be gone in a matter of months.
I don't think he wants to stay around that long. Like, he had a pretty cushy job, like, writing for various papers.
Sorry, you're hearing some interesting noises here. We've just poured out the mead. I've got a set of these whiskey glasses, which I can't remember what the first two say. This is number 4. You've got number 2.
The first is sober. The second one I've got is pissed.
Number 3 is
drunk,
and I've got number 4 shit-faced.
Oh, that's a lot of mead, there.
I was looking at that.
What is it? But it's only like sort of fortified wine. It's only like wine, isn't it? Is it?
It means kind of honey wine.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
Very similar to the sherry and port.
Oh,
Still a
Exactly. I'll tell you what, I love this. That this show started off with insulting my age because I've got, God forbid, a shopping trolley to carry heavy shopping home in.
Here it
and
comes.
you guys are sitting there drinking fucking mead like people in a retirement home. Jesus Christ. Let's not cast
I'm sorry, I think most people who drank mead are skeletons now.
I thought mead was what like monks drank in monasteries. Is it not?
Yes.
I'm actually drinking my advent calendar.
Well,
I wondered why you had such a small bottle of Jack. That makes sense.
Oh, you got a whiskey advent calendar. Is it all whiskies?
Jack Daniels one.
Oh, okay.
6 different whiskies are in it.
Wow, that's nice, that.
Look, not Donald Trump, Boris Johnson will leave. And I think that is what's going to happen. I don't think he's going to go for the vote of no confidence, which would happen. I think, look, he got voted in to get Brexit done. Right? It's been a shit show. The last year has been a shit show. He knows it's been a shit show. He's moaned about the money that he earns being Prime Minister. He's going to get all these privileges because he's been Prime Minister. So it doesn't matter if he sits out the term or not. He will fuck off into the sunset and let everyone else deal with it.
Jeremy Corbyn and Labour, right, were anti-Semitic. Now, I'm not saying...
No. Right.
They were anti-Zionist.
Just for legal reasons, Jeremy Corbyn himself was not found or accused of being anti-Semitic.
Exactly.
There was anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. You can say that without getting us all into trouble, but you can't call Jeremy Corbyn one.
Exactly, and that's my point, right? Where is all the legal battles from that? Because as soon as the avalanche come in, that was last year's general election, everything magically disappeared. The anti-Semitic vibe just went.
Yeah, I bet it's deliberate conflation though, because they're kind of mixing up anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism.
I mean, there's
just to kind of
considerable
make
anti-Semitism
it racist.
reported in the Conservative Party, as well as a much more rampant and open problem of mass Islamophobia that they've promised inquiries into for years, but haven't done it.
Yeah, but we still haven't seen the Russia report yet, so that's not.
The guy that's leading them literally wrote an article calling Muslims bank robbers for wearing burqas.
Nice. Not
pillar boxes.
Yeah, that's sort of the stage where it's not just, they allowed anti-Semitism or allowed Islamophobia.
Well,
they are the problem.
Yeah. Going back to the Navy boats thing, it made me wonder if after all this has happened and it comes to the possibility of Scottish independence, and they're having trouble negotiating a deal between Scotland and England, are they going to deploy the troops to near Hadrian's Wall somewhere? Do you think that would be a similar kind of?
I don't think Hadrian's Wall's that near the actual border anymore.
No, but you know what I mean. It's like it is.
There's a bit of Hadrian's Wall on the West Coast main line, and when I used to drive my train up to Glasgow, as you leave Carlisle station, not long afterwards, there's a little tiny segment of the wall in the railway.
All right. Cool.
So you actually drive over Hadrian's Wall.
Wow.
Yeah. Now,
Here we go.
the thing is, right, when Germany felt it was time to become East and West Germany and to put it to bed and just become Germany, we people the
I
world.
think that's a bit of an oversimplification.
Well, yeah, and
It's
also
like we
David
just
Hasselhoff
decided
that
to
does that.
unify.
David
but
Hasselhoff.
I blame Roger Waters.
He literally did, though, didn't he? There was a night in 89 or 90, whatever the year was, where they just decided enough's enough, and the soldiers stopped shooting people going towards the wall.
Yeah, just one day. Here, Dave. I just had an idea, mate.
Get Roger Waters on the phone.
Sitting here having dinner, across the wall from each other, and how about we just fuck it off? How about we just knock it down?
That's
David Hasselhoff's in town. We can probably get him to sing on top of it
Well,
while we do it.
Yeah,
That's
but
basically what happened.
the Baltic
It's not what
states,
happened, is it?
the Baltic states
More or less.
pretty much sang the Russians out of their territory, didn't they?
Exactly. Now, why is Scotland just sitting there waiting for permission to become independent?
Well, I don't think they are. I think the theory is that because I noticed they were bringing it. I haven't heard anything about it since, but they were bringing a court case to sue the BBC over Laura Kuenssberg's report saying, and a lot of reporters have said it, about Scotland legally needing permission from Westminster, but apparently there's nothing in Section 30 that actually states that.
It's
It's
more
just something
like,
that Westminster's kind of put out there.
if
as
we were
being-
going to get EU membership, they probably
So-
wouldn't want to stir up shit by allowing an unrecognised
So
country.
the idea of taking the BBC to court over the accuracy of that statement is basically a test case to get out whether or not Section 30 actually states that, because if it doesn't, then they don't have to worry about it.
If anyone deserves going to court for something like that, it's Laura Kuenssberg. Fucking hate her.
I
Yeah.
love Laura.
Oh,
You
well,
what?
that's another thing.
I love Laura Kuenssberg.
She was one of Jeremy Corbyn's most hated. Well, not most hated, but she was one of the ones that really led the charge.
Hey, you know what I'm worried about though? Recently, I've actually been enjoying watching Piers Morgan interviews. That's worrying.
Oh,
Well, no. The reason why
I need to
things
wait.
like
I'll be
that
back in a minute.
take 25 minutes. The reason why it's been enjoyable to watch Piers Morgan interview recently is because he has literally got nothing to lose anymore, and what he's doing is what should be done, can't be done by the BBC because they have to be impartial, but what should be done, which is when a politician opens their mouth and comes out with some ridiculous claim or lie, is to actually be called out on it.
Yeah.
And we don't get that anymore. And so his new shtick is going, well, fuck it, I'm just going to go and do it. And just doing it because the
I
IT,
think it
ITV
needs more
can do
people
it.
to do that, really. Not just Piers Morgan. If more journalists started to do it,
Who's that guy?
Yeah, but they ended
Start
up
talking about it
boycotting
properly,
Channel
rather than
4 for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's the guy on Channel 4 that used to do that a lot?
Christian Guru Murphy was quite good at that.
And Jeremy Paxman used to do it, didn't he? I haven't seen him recently, but
Yeah, but
I think he
the
retired.
the BBC's got to be more impartial now. That's the problem. You've got. There was a video going around here. I think Craig might have shared it. No, someone shared it in a group that we talk about Ben about, and they were saying they were doing a thing on the BBC
You've got
where
a
it was
group
like,
for talking about Ben.
yeah. It's all people that have had to move away from him, so we just instead like just look at what he's putting out and laughing. But there was a video going around, and it was a a spoof BBC. What's it when I'm trying to think of the word when you've got a debate. That's it.
Yeah.
Two people talking about the same subject, and it was one that was like pro cancer, one that was against cancer.
Okay,
because that is what you'd have to do on a BBC. You'd have to have somebody on either side of the argument, even though it's a one-sided argument.
Yeah.
That's the problem. The thing is, people are and Prime Minister Question Times is an awful example of this right now, because when I sit there and watch it, it's become my Sunday lunchtime staple. Tuning into Prime Minister's Question Times. What you've got is Keir Starmer as the leader of the opposition asking questions to the current Prime Minister, and then getting absolute bollocks back.
Yeah.
The question's not being answered. It's being skirted around. It's being diverted. It's being thrown back as something else. The questions aren't being answered. And
half the time he just talks in fucking nonsense metaphors that he thinks people actually use, but like probably are somewhere out of his classics degree.
That was what I was talking about when I said about him talking about mung beans earlier on. He was talking about as not being like sort of crusty hippies that eat mung beans, and then starts with like, not that there's anything wrong with mung beans, I'm sure they're absolutely delicious, and it's like, what the fuck, you're on a political platform here.
I'm sorry, did he time travel from the 70s?
Yeah, it's what vegetarians eat, right? But the thing is, like, the Speaker of the House, his job is to turn around and go, actually, you've been asked a question, answer the question.
Yeah.
But that's not being done. So the whole thing is farcical. Now, I actually worked with, I don't know if I've talked about this elsewhere, I worked with Piers Morgan for a while, for a few weeks on one of his old shows. And he was actually a very nice man. I was quite surprised.
He's a very nice man. He's a very, very nice man.
Very nice man. He was actually really nice. So, and I quite enjoyed him when he buggered off to America. I thought he did a grand old job, especially upsetting everyone with, what he wanted to do with gun control. But yeah, I mean, but he does give you a lot of reasons to hate him. But if journalists actually did their job and actually reported on news, or actually tried to do some investigation, or actually tried to, he reminds me
a bit of what James Whale used to be like. Do you remember him?
Used to love James Whale.
I used to listen to him on Radio Leeds before he went sort of national. He used to do his radio show went on TV, didn't it? But he
listened to him on Red Rose Radio.
Yeah, he used to get students phoning in basically to see if they could get away with swearing on his show, and then he just like rant and cut them off. It was ace. But yeah, no, Piers Morgan. Yeah, sorry.
So every dog has his day, and at the moment it's Piers Morgan's.
Yeah. I mean, he does occasionally like herald the fall of civilization whenever someone goes outside the traditional bounds of masculinity, which is entertaining.
What, like calling out Greggs for having vegan sausage rolls?
Well, there's that, but also I think it was like around Harry Styles like wearing a dress on the cover of Vogue, which like plenty of people have done. But
well, like David Beckham was doing that shit 3 decades ago.
Yeah, but they get loads of views out of it. So if they just say, "Oh, it's everything's gonna fall apart," and I'll have to wear a dress, it's like, "Oh, what if your man turned up and I don't know, fucking."
Well, it's not exactly everything falling apart if you end up having to wear a dress, is it? It's not really the world falling apart.
No,
one of my friends has started like wearing dresses. Good for him.
I think it's just like Piers Morgan's afraid that he would actually want to wear a dress.
Have they got fashion sense though? Are they wearing nice dresses, or are they?
Oh no, he rocks it. He rocks it well. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very pleased for him. But yeah, I mean that Greg's sausage roll thing was hilarious because
sausage rolls taste fucking nice. The vegan ones, I can't tell the difference with half of them.
Right, that's those Greggs ones, especially, if you got given the wrong one, you wouldn't really know about it.
Really, the only difference for me is really in the texture, in that they may be a bit less oily.
Yeah,
Isn't that a positive?
Yeah,
they are a fair bit less greasy.
Yeah.
Than I remember the meat ones being. But yeah, the overreaction to it because it's vegan food. I mean, the one thing I love about, and obviously, like, I'm not vegan. And even if I was, I wouldn't be telling anyone about it because you know how that ends up. But my favourite thing when you speak to you have anyone that says, "Oh, you're vegetarian," or "Oh, you're vegan," "Oh, I couldn't eat vegan food." It's like, well, what's bread?
You do
what's
all the time.
chips?
Yeah.
What's salad?
We had an interesting family gathering, didn't we? Where there were a few members of the family around, and there were various disagreements. But one of the things, a couple of our family are vegans.
I think either them personally or someone that like they're quite good friends with, like, actually goes hunting.
Well, they've got it's my wife's sister's husband. It comes from a farming family, so they're quite anti-vegan. But it was funny because their son sort of turned around. We were having something to eat, and it was they were serving bread with it, and they turned around and said, "Is this bread vegan?" It's like, and it's like, yeah, most bread's vegan. It's like people don't realise
95% of bread is vegan.
Yeah.
Probably
Apart
more.
from that meat bread.
Yeah, apart from meatloaf, yeah.
Oh, Blackpool milk roll.
And milk roll as well, of course, yeah. But yeah, it is hilariously funny to me. I think because I've been vegetarian now for coming up to 3 years, be 3 years in January, and it's been really interesting in that time to see what's happened, because when I first started, it seemed to be just at the start of supermarkets expanding their ranges. I did it at the right time, to be honest.
There's loads of stuff.
I'd have struggled, but now you can nearly get a replacement for even egg. You get like ready done egg replacements now, which you didn't.
Well, we used one the other night. We were making what was it? We were making.
Well, you'll see it in probably about a week if it goes out.
They
at the
don't
right
watch
time.
our videos.
Our anniversary special. we made a pie.
A blueberry pie. But we used
spoil that.
Sorry, but we used egg replacement in that.
Yes.
And it was fine. The only difference with it was the consistency was there wasn't as much kind of liquid in the mix.
Yeah, it came out sort of cakey.
But it was nice. It's good.
Yeah, it does.
Well, there's a lot
does.
of rebranding going around, isn't there? Because Julie has a mushroom bolognese from Aldi. She's had it for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Now it's got vegan on it. But before it wasn't. It was just advertised as the mushroom bolognese, and now it's got this is a vegan product.
And it's quite funny because sometimes you get it the other way round, where products don't announce they're vegan because now there's a stigma about it.
I notice
Now it's
often.
everywhere.
See, it'll often be like you look at the ingredients. There's nothing in it, but it says may contain milk or soya or whatever. It's just like it's in the same factory. It's just
Yeah, it might be in the air.
Yeah,
You might get a bit of milk residue in the air. But yeah, it's the reaction to it is quite funny.
To be honest, a lot of the stuff that you can't taste the difference, like you said. And to be honest, a lot of it you don't even realise you're eating vegan stuff anyway, or you're vegetarian.
I went to my local Chinese. I mean, it's very scary for me because my local Chinese, unlike Craig's
You're
K-Tams,
It's K-Tams. I ate there tonight.
Exactly, of course you did. Saturday.
Have you ever had a K-Tams, Nick?
No, I've never been. I've never had the privilege, but I will one day. I will. I was supposed to this year. Actually,
we should have a network pilgrimage
to K-Tams.
Yeah.
But my local Chinese takeaway, it got new owners at the beginning of this year, and I believe one of them is vegan. So within about a week of the takeover, they introduced a vegan menu which has about 60 dishes on it. They're basically veganized everything. And last night I had mock chicken in kung po sauce. and you couldn't taste it. Like the texture was very similar. And
to be honest, with Chinese chicken, you can't tell whether it's chicken or
exactly,
anything.
Exactly, it could be pigeon. It's normally pigeon. So that's it. You know, there were certain things where actually, because of the consistency anyway, or because of how they add flavour to things, it's very easy to make a mock version.
I went fully vegan for a good. It must have been nearly 6 months, didn't I? At the back end of 2018. And then we went down south for Christmas, and I just had no, it was last year, 2019, and
last year, yeah.
And I just had a steak, and that was it. I just went. I'm all or nothing, me. So it's like, well, especially at the moment, working for a pizza place, it's like, I mean, they do a vegan pizza, but it's like
just like sawdust.
It's all right. It's not bad.
I've only had one vegan pizza so far, and it was a Papa John's one when they first introduced it, and I did not like the cheese at all.
No, it's
they used.
It's not the taste of it; it's the texture. It kind of sticks to the roof of your mouth a bit. It's a bit sticky.
Yep.
But
yep, I'm with you on that.
I've been drinking for a while oat milk in me coffee.
Oh, I don't like that. I don't mind the soya milk, but the oat milk I don't particularly like. Unless it says the almond milk, but
in the coffee, the oat milk is different. But I put it in my tea yesterday. You wouldn't even know that it's not milk.
Yeah.
No, my mother-in-law used to bring milk round with her, because although, I mean, we're not vegan, but we don't drink milk. I never really drank milk anyway, but the wife and my daughter have also stopped drinking milk. So we just have oat milk in the house now. And my mother-in-law used to bring a little pint of milk with her if she wanted to have tea or anything like that. And now she doesn't. So I think, like you, Craig, she just doesn't notice the difference anymore.
Yeah.
With oat.
Now, one of the big things is apparently the vegans don't get sick because they don't get all the mucus in them because they're not having dairy. Is that true?
I don't know if that's true. If you think about what cow's milk is and how we get cow's milk, then it's very there's truth to what you say there. Whether or not that's helps
probably
them get sick, I don't know.
Very marginal difference that could probably largely be chalked up to just being generally healthier. Usually,
yeah. My missus
calls to do with the diet, actually. If you think about it, I eat more veg now in general than I used to, because I have to, I suppose.
But I could definitely see in a dietary sense, I could definitely see myself and I really enjoy salmon, like proper.
When I went for the piss, then I had a tin of fish.
I'm sorry, what? Just like on the toilet?
Yeah.
Just like you just keep a can of sardines on your loo.
Was it any specific kind of fish, or did it just have fish on the outside of the tin? It wasn't whiskers, was it?
It was mackerel in brine.
Oh, mackerel's lovely.
What a British fish that we fought for.
Paul, this is why I declare myself a pescatarian, not officially a vegetarian or that, because I do eat fish.
What are you pointing at, Simon?
A week. Now, what you can do is you can become a segan. That's a thing, apparently.
Seagulls?
Segan.
Just eat seagulls?
What's a segan? You only eat
semen.
Sea vegetables?
No,
semen.
It's a vegan that eats fish.
Well, so what's a pescatarian then? Is that a vegetarian that eats fish?
Vegetarian eats fish.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Who believes in God?
So I'm. If I was anything, I'm more segan than I would be pescatarian.
Well, it'll be.
I still have things that have milk in. So
how much suffering it causes the animals, I guess, and how intelligent they are.
The thing is, even in the changes that I've made, and not being vegan, it's still like the impact I've had. If you use one to calculate things, is very positive.
Yeah, it's the climate effects that kind of worry me. But
it's ruminants ruminant animals.
Farting.
It's not actually. It's mostly burping, methane, because of they basically ferment their food to digest it.
Don't they have like 8 stomachs or something?
I think cows have 4 stomachs.
4, is it?
It's more than us.
Yeah.
Although sometimes I wonder, but
They have 4 guts rather than hind guts like us.
this meat's lovely, by the way.
So what was there another news story?
Oh, I don't know. We're still on the news.
We've gone so far.
We
Original news story.
touched upon the summary executions, but I'm not sure any of us really read that much on that.
I know about the executions, yeah, a little bit. So the lad last night who was executed was 40 years old, roughly, give or take a day. He'd been involved. He was one of 5 people involved in murders when he was 18, and the teenage brain and everything associated with it, with our brains, evolves as you grow older, and he'd become a real part of the prison society. And he was, before he was executed, he was doing knitting and crochet. He had a crochet club going in the prison.
Was it him? I read about someone that either they'd already executed or they were going to execute, who'd been proven to be mentally disabled, like with an IQ of about 70, but in one debunked like hearing or something, they'd said that he wasn't, and they'd just gone off of that.
I can't. I mean, I know I've not murdered anyone, but I'm a much different person from what I was when I was 18. Like I would hate to be like punished for the things I did when I was 18 now.
Yeah, exactly. I was an absolute wanker when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Well, when I was 18, I met Julie, so I'm not changed.
You're still paying.
I'm not 18 yet.
I'd say
No,
no,
you're not.
outbreak. It's all right.
Am I going to do something terrible next year?
I don't know.
Could do. Craig probably would do.
The thing is, this fella who was murdered yesterday, it was nothing to Trump whether he died or not yesterday. He could have just put that off until January.
Well, no, it didn't have to. It didn't have to go to death. That's the point.
Exactly.
Really, is that these executions didn't happen for a long time, and now all of a sudden, in the last few months of his presidency, he's rushing all these ones through.
Well,
yeah.
Is it minimum that they've got to? Is it 19, 20 years that most of them serve before they even?
Usually, yeah, I think it is about 15 to 20 years just for it to go through, like, checking that they are absolutely innocent, and then I think around 4% of the time they are innocent anyway and get acquitted after dying.
Which is great. I'm sure they'll really enjoy having that. Has anyone seen?
It just feels so
on
barbaric
Netflix?
to still have executions.
Of course it is.
I hope you're going to bring up. I've forgotten his name now. Yeah, Nick. What Netflix?
There's a show on Netflix. It's a mini series called When They See Us.
Oh right,
And
no, I haven't seen that one.
It was a case that I was too young to really remember. It happened in 1989, and it was about the rape of a girl or a woman in Central Park.
Oh, is this the
was that Central Park 5?
Central Park 5, yeah.
Yeah, I remember Trump being very involved in like.
He wasn't very involved because obviously, I mean, he's got no legislation there.
Yeah.
But he took a full page ad out in the New York Times to say that these boys need to be put on death row. Now, it's a really good series. It's about 5 or 6 episodes. I think it's 6 episodes because each episode kind of focuses on one of the people. And I mean, it's awful, but I watched it in one afternoon because it was so compelling, and because it was really good for me because I didn't know anything about the story. So
Yeah.
I went into this as this is the full education. This is what happened, how it happened and what happened after. So I didn't know what happened to any of these people. So in this show, you see them as, and I think the youngest was like 14 or 15 that was accused of this. And so each episode kind of focuses on one of them and you see them as the original child and then like slightly older as they've kind of been in prison and whatever. And it's really fascinating. But yeah, I mean,
I thought you were going to talk about that Making of a Murderer.
No, only because of the race angle. I was talking about that. But yeah, Making a Murderer is another one. I mean,
that's still going on, isn't it?
Apparently. Well, I mean, yes, the cases. I think they're still filming stuff for a potential third season. It's a very weird one. I really enjoyed Making a Murderer, and it's another one that we kind of binge watched when it first came out.
It feels weird to me having documentaries with seasons.
Well, you shouldn't have to have seasons, but this is a bit of an unusual one, isn't it? The thing with Making a Murderer, on the surface, it looks very clean cut. It looks, very much like, it's a hatchet job. And when you look at all the things involved and all the angles involved, that he's an innocent man. The problem with that, with any documentary, is the fact that every documentary has an agenda.
Yeah.
Well, this is. I remember it
has to have a viewpoint.
I remember when I was watching that about. I remember seeing people talking about that Blackfish one.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that one as well.
Yeah,
we had somebody on. Was you on that show, Craig? When we had somebody on that was involved in Blackfish.
Can't remember.
We had a guest on not long after Blackfish came out to talk about Blackfish. It was somebody that had worked at SeaWorld at the time that this was all kind of going on. Once we finished the recording, they said, I can tell you a bit more, but obviously this can't be recorded, so we didn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, a lot of there was a lot of discrepancies with the things that were shown, and apparently some of the families of the victims involved in it were unhappy with how it was portrayed because they didn't believe that it was fairly done. That was the kind of point in time that I realized with any documentary you watch that there is always an agenda.
Yeah.
And so not that you have to take everything with a pinch of salt because some it's far too clean cut, but it's something you've got to also think about that there is a reason for seeing what you're seeing in the way that you're seeing it, and that might change your views of what's gone on because it's got that agenda. So with Making a Murderer, whilst everything that I've seen, and even the the kind of documentaries they rushed out about the looking at it from the other angle, or speaking to the other people involved on the opposite side of the on the defense side, I still think it's probably him being wronged, but there is definitely more that you don't see because of
my impression of Making a Murderer is obviously he was wrongly convicted initially in series 1 and he gets cleared, but then when he gets out and he's due this big payout of something like 30 million, was it? Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
He all of a sudden is alleged to be framed for the murder of this lady. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, what it looks like is him and his nephew, and again, this is just the impression I get, is something has gone on. They've done a murder, but then the police have got very little evidence to pin them on it, and then the evidence was planted to make them look like they've done a murder, and they've probably done said murder. But
you think that?
No,
yeah,
I don't.
I think
what's the motive?
They just raped her and he wants to get rid of the body.
What? But based, it's an odd thing to do when you've been accused of raping somebody and then found that it was somebody completely different and you weren't even there. To me, I don't think I'd go, well, I didn't get away with it the first time, but I didn't do it. So maybe if I do it this time, I'll get away with it. I don't understand that logic.
There's so much evidence that points to another explanation as well that wasn't included in the court case.
There's so much stuff there where something has gone on that the police have, they had that area for a week, didn't they, or longer. And so all the evidence that they needed could have been planted, no problem, to fit the crime.
But it's this whole thing about, like you just said there, well, she was raped and murdered. The body was burnt. Like there was bone fragments. That's how they decided who it was. How is that any evidence of any kind of rape?
You're right.
Or even murder. You can't even say it was murder, because what if she decided to kill herself and they've burned the body? Someone's burned the body.
I just can't have a serious conversation with Craig doing a Jeff Goldblum with us.
his shirt's not up, and we're not seeing his bare chest.
We're not far off.
No, it's close enough. But do you know what I mean? Like I think it's no. I think that the timing of everything is just too much. Why would you do anything at all, when you're going to get paid 30 million quid?
Well, the other point is as well, that money would have had to come from funds that the entire population of the county would have had to stump up for.
Yeah,
it was.
I also think it's being exploited. That the two individuals might not necessarily be the brightest pins in the cushion.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, the thing is, one thing you can't dispute is when they interviewed Brendan, that when you actually look at the footage, and that he's got, mental difficulties, that, it was coaxed into him.
Yeah. They ground him down.
Yeah.
And he coaxed them.
They quite often do this with people where they'll, even if like that person knows that they're innocent, and it'll be quite easy to trick someone like that, like planting false memories that they aren't innocent. But even if someone knows that they're innocent, it's the smarter thing to do, and their lawyers will be telling them that it's a smart thing to do to get a plea bargain. But that means that even if they're found innocent later, they'll be shown as guilty.
What did you say, Simon?
There was one on ITV the other night. Can't remember. She went to see a woman who supposedly killed her two kids. And she's on death row, but she refused to sign a plea saying that she's guilty. She's on death row anyway. She's on death row to be killed, but she refused to sign that she was guilty of killing the kids, because she still believes she's innocent.
Yeah.
Right.
But the evidence, if they showed both sides, and it's up to you how you presume it. And she's blatantly saying she's not killed the kids. Someone else has broken into the house and killed the kids. But
is it a dingo? Did a dingo eat the baby?
Oh, you're showing your age there.
But it showed both sides on. It was what's she called? It's a girl on. There's a reporter on ITV, Julie something. I can't remember. She does a load of walking.
It's got
Julie walkie legs.
It's going to do my head in, because I'm terrible for names. You know what I'm like.
Series 1 of Surreal podcast was a good one.
Are we on news or friendship?
We're still kind of tangentially on news.
Yeah, but what I was on about, it's the same with the death row thing. She is on the women's death row, and she refuses to sign. Like you said about
it don't make any difference to her, does it? I mean, if she's on death row anyway.
She was given the thing where she could get off death row if she signed this piece of
paper.
Oh, right. She killed kids.
Okay.
And she refused to sign it.
She can get off death row.
I've not killed my kids. It's the evidence is not the way. It's just been shown that way. And I've been drinking since 6 o'clock this afternoon. So
have you?
Yeah.
Good lad.
That's why I said I'd be on tonight.
So what was the next news story you had? Was it something more upbeat?
Don't know. Is there?
Oh, vaccine.
Oh yeah, I was thinking. that's happened, hasn't it?
The
Nanobots,
vaccine.
nanobots. I've got 5G. I've got 5G.
Now, don't be promoting conspiracy theories here, because your words have weight, maybe. I don't know.
My words have less weight than my body weight.
Ben's going, yes, I told you.
It's exciting times, right? We've got a vaccine. I mean, I don't think anyone on this podcast is going to be having the vaccine anytime soon.
I might. I'm in the
Potentially might have it in February.
I'm in the extremely highly clinically vulnerable group, so I might get it with us over 70s.
Oh, so you've got a shopping bag?
No.
Have you got Crocs?
No, I haven't got Crocs, and I don't wear camouflage t-shirts either.
What's wrong with fucking camouflage? Jesus.
People can't
Unless
see
you're
you.
Rambo, you can't pull it off.
Oh, you're lucky. You're lucky.
Just suddenly become
Somebody might walk
invisible.
into you, not knowing you're there.
I took a photo. I got told off because I took a photo of somebody in town once that was wearing a camouflage tracksuit, tops and bottoms, and I was like, "It's a floating head." Go down very well. No,
Are you sure they weren't just a soldier?
It was a lady, and
Ladies can be soldiers too, you know.
But as I was about to say, judging by her shoes, she was and the handbag she was definitely not a soldier. I mean, it's good news we've got a vaccine. I hated the rhetoric that we were the first country because we're the best country, considering we've done for the one that got approved first.
Embarrassing.
Fuck all. But it's good news. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I fully believe in vaccines, and obviously having a son on the autism spectrum, and possibly myself, the whole Andrew Wakefield thing is very prevalent in my life. But the only thing I'm not comfortable about with all of this is just in the sheer speed, the time it's taken to get this all done. Now, I have yet to see, and I've been trying to find out what is actually in this, because if this is essentially a cocktail of existing things that we've had in other vaccines, that would reassure me a lot more in the safety of it.
I think my understanding that you were able to rush it through is so the vessel that it's delivered in, i.e. the liquid, whatever, has all been used in the past with other stuff. And something like 90% of the actual vaccine is of stuff that is already being put in us. And that's how they could. So there's whatever the little percentage at the end is the COVID, and it's not what they've done. They're not actually injecting you with COVID. They're injecting you with again that the science in my head is all jiggledy.
It's kind of a protein that recognizes it.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on which vaccine as well, isn't it? Because is it the Pfizer one? Is one way, and then like the Oxford one is actually giving you a bit like the flu. It gives you a little bit, so your body gets antibodies. The Pfizer one's is completely different. The one that they're bringing out that's actually out now.
I don't think the Oxford one's performing that well. I think it's only in the 70%.
I think
it is the 70%.
The appeal of it is it's a lot cheaper because it's not done privately. It's been applied to the government, so they're not profiting off of it. And B, it can be refrigerated. It doesn't need to be kept in like super low conditions, which means that it will be a lot easier to give to developing countries and to a lot more rural places, because you kind of need special units otherwise to do it.
It's very similar stats to the actual flu vaccine itself that they produce every year. And so it's
The other thing as
same
well,
success rate, and you've got that same cost as well.
I get the concerns when people, about it being rushed through and stuff, and what's in it and stuff. But at the same time, you can't really. We don't really put most of what we put into our bodies under that much scrutiny.
We don't, but at the same time, it goes through at least 10 years of trials before it actually gets signed off.
Yeah, somebody somewhere scrutinised what we put inside us.
But I mean,
it's just that we're idiots and put stuff inside us.
But most of us probably don't have very serious allergies to the sorts of things that would be in vaccines.
When it comes down to it, you're basically talking about a statistical choice as to what is the bigger risk. Are you more at risk of catching and dying from COVID, or
the idea of getting most people vaccinated, you'd have to check it over first, is that the people that can't, and there are going to be a fair few people that have various reasons that they can't, won't be at risk of getting exposed because the cases will be so low. I suppose that's where the
paradox is, because for me, it's a bigger thing that if I catch it, I'm more likely to die from it than a lot of other people. And that's the thing that they're going to have a difficulty with, is perhaps how do you convince younger people to take it when they're not the ones that are at risk, but they'll be the ones protecting the older generation?
I think it's currently about a fifth of people are saying that they wouldn't take it at this stage.
What was amazing this week was Trump come out. It was on and around the day that 3,000 Americans died from COVID.
I think about the same amount that died in 9/11 every day right now in America, and they're predicting that's going to happen for the next few months.
Now, he come out and said, well, we're pushing for herd immunity, and 15% of Americans have now been exposed. So, we're what a celebration, what a success. 15%, but 280,000 Americans have died, which again is still quite a small number.
It's more than the amount of soldiers that died in battles from America in World War II.
But for him to get herd immunity in America, about 1.8 million Americans have to die, basically, if you carry on the same trajectory.
Well, this is the thing we had quite early on with like Boris Johnson saying, "Oh, we're going to push for herd immunity," and then a bunch of people were like, "That means like 2/3 of the country have to get it, and loads of people are going to die from that."
But plus, what if it doesn't work?
Well, the other thing as well with this, with all the statistics, is like Craig saying there that 15% of Americans have had COVID. Now, we don't know what the percentages are. Yeah. The reason for that is because not everyone has been tested when they've had it. Exactly. So we got COVID. We got COVID at the end of February this year, and at the time it was kind of going through Europe. It was obviously we knew it, what it was doing in China, and what I was trying to find out what was going on with it. And I'm reading things like, it's like the flu, similar to flu symptoms, blah, blah, blah. When we got it, my mother-in-law got it first, then my daughter, then me and my wife. And we got this awful cough, like I'd never had, like I'd wake up coughing.
I mean, the people saying it's similar to a flu, like, influenza's really fucking deadly. It's just how many people it's infected.
No. Oh no, I know. But they were talking about like what the symptoms were like at the time, because it was still a bit of an unknown. So we had that. We both me and my wife and my mother-in-law all lost our sense of taste and smell. Mine came back started to come back around 6 weeks in, probably about 2 months after is when it kind of got more back to normal. But at the time we were still reading it's like the flu. It was only after, we had lockdown or towards lockdown, and they were saying these are the key symptoms and everything like this, that we're like, shit, that's what we had, because we'd never been ill like we'd been ill with this.
Have you had any long-term? Have you had any long-term effects?
Yeah, itching.
His penis is tiny now.
That's something else. That's
No,
that's.
I think that's always been the case.
So
That's a
so-
mutation. That's not.
Yeah.
Well, that reminds me, we got pigs in blankets for later.
Oh,
so I have to
It's not
take
Jewish.
I have to take an antihistamine most nights because I will get itchy all over, and apparently that's a symptom of long COVID. But again, the reason I say that is because when we got ill with it, there wasn't any testing. When the testing did get introduced, it would only tell you if you've got symptoms. Not sorry, if you had it there and then, not if you
you have
just
to have an
had
active virus
Right.
inside you to
So presumably,
positive result.
I mean, from what they've been saying, the longer it is since you had it, the more likely that you'll be able to catch it again.
So
It seems.
So two things. So the first one is about 3 or 4 months ago, my mother-in-law had to go and have an antibody test, or was part of other testing. She had an antibody test where it did show up she had COVID. So that kind of doubly confirmed that we'd had it. But when I got my flu jab this year, and it was the first time I got one, and the reason I got one was because work had encouraged us to get the flu jab just in case. Not it was going to protect us from COVID, but just it would protect us from hopefully getting the flu. And when I was sitting there talking to the nurse about it and told her when I'd had symptoms and everything like that, she said, "Oh yes," she said, "you would be liable to catch it again now because your antibodies would have gone." So yeah, and the thing is, like, ever since March, ever since rules came in, everything like that, I have followed them, washing my hands, wearing a face mask when I've been out, all that kind of stuff. So even though I wasn't at risk catching it for most this year, I still led by those rules, which I'm still doing now.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
The thing is, if the nurse is saying that to you, that you've had it in February, your antibodies are now dying off, and you're at risk of catching it again, then these vaccines are going to be a part of our life for the foreseeable future, for years to come.
Well, the other
part of the
problem
flu vaccine.
well,
That's what I think
eventually,
looking
but
at. Yeah.
the problem at the moment is they're saying that they reckon the life expectancy of the vaccine is about 6 months.
Yeah.
That's what they're expecting, which means that we would be having this every, twice a year until it gets to a point where they can figure out a longer term solution, or if it is just something that comes around during flu season and it's not something that lives all year round, because this obviously mutates and changes and everything. So
it would be to the point with a lot of diseases that we have vaccines for now, where they resurface as outbreaks every now and then, but we're able to keep it relatively under wraps because it's not a pandemic anymore.
Yeah. You'd be able to isolate it, control it, and get it under control in the isolated area, which at the moment we can't because it's all over the world.
And let's be honest, like even in terms of how they treat people that are hospitalised with it have changed. People are still dying from it or complications from it, but
that's
what they were doing in April.
That's something that occurs to me that, we're getting the death rates we're getting now, which I suppose very roughly is about 500 a day here, isn't it? Very, very roughly. But if the hospital procedures have improved so much since the early days of it, the first lockdown, if things were still the same as they were then, there'd be a whole lot more people dying now.
Exactly.
We were getting thousands a day, weren't we?
I think we got up. Our top was, we went through 1,000, maybe 2 days.
Yeah.
And then it dropped below 1,000 again.
But even if you say it's halved from the beginning of the pandemic to now, that shows that it's better. It's being handled better now.
I think we're going to
was at the start.
I think we're going to see a massive upsurge towards New Year, though.
I was in Liverpool city centre today doing
it's fucking chaos in the shops.
A little bit of Christmas shopping, and Liverpool city centre was exactly as if COVID wasn't happening.
Yeah.
However, to get into the shops, you had to queue to get in 90% of the shops in Liverpool city centre. So what was happening was the paving space in between the shops is now smaller, considerably smaller, because there's areas reserved for people to queue to get into the shops with bollards and whatnot. So the pavement size is now reduced.
Well, we've had
there's a lot more funneling going on.
Yeah, we've had whole sections of road shut off in Aberdeen, but also in the nearest town, Inverurie, they've turned two-way streets into one-way streets so they could widen the pavements so that people have got more space. But still, it's like people are just not, people are just walking into you and stuff in Tesco's and that. So,
I mean, I said to the girls in town, we've gone 10 months being as careful as we can. And we've come into town today and caught COVID because it was basically bedlam.
I see today, actually, this is, I don't know if this is going to happen, but it is being considered about Scotland possibly doing a similar thing to what Ireland did with giving everybody £100 shopping voucher to stimulate the economy, basically. Yeah.
I think that worked better than Eat Out to help out.
It's safe. Well, I don't know if it's safer. I mean, we've taken the decision to remove my daughter from school.
Yeah.
She had another week to go. And we had to have a very grown-up conversation with her because we told her we were doing it and she got upset about it. And we had to sit down and explain why we thought this would be the best thing for her to do. And she, put her counter argument and everything like that. And she's only 7, bless her cotton socks. But, we had it was shocking, actually, the conversation we actually had with her about it. And she agreed in the end that it would probably be for the best. Because in my area, we are now seeing a spike. We had always been quite low.
Yeah.
But it has been
it has spiked.
Revealing, I think, and we've had somewhat of a flavour of this, I suppose, where a lot of the adults are acting in such an immature way that the children are the ones that have to grow up and think about this stuff, and it's impacting their education. Whereas if everyone just isolated properly, it wouldn't be necessary to do that.
Yeah, Wuhan's pretty much eradicated it.
I would be careful.
But they went back into lockdown 3 weeks ago, didn't they? 3-4 weeks ago.
Did they?
I'm sure there was something. Well, one of the conspiracy pages that pops up on your Facebook feed.
I mean, it's kind of.
They went to a mini lockdown because they found 4 or 5 cases in another place in somewhere. It probably could have been somewhere that's 1,000 miles away from Wuhan.
Yeah.
But you know what the media are like these days.
It's a bit ironic. It's sort of Chinese whispers with that.
Pun intended.
Set there.
Nick, are you in the area that's getting the mass testing in schools? I know there's.
We've had it. My girls have been done twice.
Okay, it's only the secondary schools in my area that's happening. But my wife went out twice this week into town. Now she has only been going out. I go out most days because I just go and get bits and pieces from the supermarket.
Did she take your trolley?
No, she did not take. She took
too embarrassed.
She can drive. But she was saying she went out on Monday and Friday into town, and she said on Monday there's quite a lot of kids out with parents, but there were quite a lot of kids out. And on Friday she said it was even worse. Now what we know is happening in this area is, and what's happening in a lot of areas is, if somebody tests positive in the school year, the kids are told to go home and self-isolate. What they're not doing is going home and self-isolating. They are going out. Now, my son goes to a special needs school. He's in a class with 8 kids, of which only 5 of them were there because some of them still are not allowed back to school because of their own health issues. And one of the support teachers got diagnosed. Now, she had the test on a Thursday, got the results back the following Wednesday, which is when they told us, and then said you've got to go and pick him up and take him out of school, where he had to be kept off for a week because of obviously the 14-day time frame. Now, when we brought him home, he stayed home. He didn't go out.
Well,
we didn't take him out anywhere.
Going back
He
to
stayed home.
Going back to what Theo was saying, I mean, kids being told to go home and self-isolate, I can kind of understand why they'd be like, well, why the fuck should we if we can see all the adults going out doing their Christmas shopping? It's like...
The kids, I mean, it depends what age they are. Most kids aren't travelling on their own, so it's sort of up to the parents to also isolate because they're going to be in a lot of contact.
Because it does spread. I mean, like all of these kids, they're saying that it's spreading quite quickly in secondary schools in certain areas. They're all going back to a home. So...
Yeah, but the thing is as well, it seems to be spreading amongst the adult staff more than it is the kids.
Yeah.
That's the stupidity of it. The whole thing is whacked. But the other problem as well is the fact that we do have, I think it's 6 million people that have had no financial support from the government at all.
Yeah.
Now my wife was one of those. She's now getting some financial help, and she's getting the bare minimum. I think it's about £600.
Yeah.
But during the first lockdown, she was told that she wasn't eligible for
and
anything,
especially if you're asymptomatic and you're flagged up, if you can't afford not to go to work, what are you supposed to do?
The thing is, it's stupidity. It would have made much more sense if the government just issued universal basic income for this.
Definitely.
Instead, what we've got is a lot of people getting help, some people getting no help, and other like people and businesses taking the absolute piss and now having to pay money back because they claim for money they weren't entitled to.
Yeah.
Now, if you just say to everyone, right, everyone gets £2,000 a month every month until this is all said and done, and if you can work, and if you can't work, you're gonna have to self-isolate or whatever, people probably would have done it.
Yeah.
And
because we've got people that are living literally, pay to pay to be able to just afford to live.
I think we should have that in place regularly anyway, but especially during a pandemic, it just feels stupid not to.
Well, Finland just did an experiment, didn't they? They just did a universal basic income experiment in I don't know if it was a town or a part of the country, where it found that people were happier, but the job rate had stayed low. They hadn't people weren't in more employment, which is what they were trying to do. They were trying to get people back into work or get new jobs, whatever it was. So it's another time when it's tried to be used, but it hasn't worked in the way that it they hoped it would work. Although, to be honest, I think quite often they don't want it to work.
We need more regulation.
Really? Yeah.
More regulation, because I was hearing about this. You probably know more about it than I do. Who's the woman at Disney that's just been granted the 11 million a year?
Oh, I don't know who she is, but she can fuck off. 11 million a year bonus.
What?
Every year.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And they've
this is some chairperson at Disney. Yeah, just got an 11 million pound a year bonus on top of her annual salary, whilst 38,000 people have just been laid off.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Good look. Really good look.
That's what I mean about
friendship.
That's basically
we should probably get back onto the topic before we run out of time.
Yeah. What is there to talk about with friendship? Friends are kind of boring, really.
What is a friend?
Well, the thing is, you could bring it back to what we're talking about. We are 5 different people. I've met 2, 3 of you. Paul, you met 1, and we're all talking about general things.
Well, this whole idea.
We will be talking like this if it wasn't for either online friendship, virtual friendship, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Well,
we're all friends. And we've just had a conversation now for nearly an hour and 55 minutes.
Yeah. But I mean, we'd never met, and yet the first time we met, what was the first thing we did was hug. Like it's
that's a sign of the times, isn't it? Right there.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether to go for the handshake or the hug.
It just
So I
didn't
went for
seem
the
right.
hug.
It's just weird. Yeah, that would have been weird, a handshake. I don't want to hold your hand.
Yeah, I want your body close to mine, but I don't want to touch your hand. I don't know where it's been.
And I mean, we've had two
Thank you.
meetups in London, haven't we, Nick?
Sorry.
I missed it by 2. I missed it by 2 days. So couldn't get the 2 days off.
And it was a group of people who, I mean, I'd met Nick and I'd met Dolan in Mouse Meat.
Was it what you hoped it would be, or was it awkward at any point? Or
the initial meeting, I mean, but the second one especially, me and Stuart got off the train, and Ryan was waiting for us. You were late on the second one, weren't you, Nick?
I was ill, yeah.
see, I don't even know if I'd recognise Ryan. I probably would, but
Well, Ryan was, and he won't mind me saying this, but he was awkward. He wouldn't make eye contact with us. He was very, very, very nervous.
yeah,
But I was exactly the same.
yeah.
That sounds like a very similar person to the meetup in Orlando.
Yeah, definitely.
As soon as you've had a drink, though.
There's a nervous little.
When I left the pub on at least 2 occasions, so I could have a panic attack. Yeah, that was great times.
You know, and I think that
it was. I can understand where you were coming from. You didn't expect that many people there, and there was a lot of people for that meetup.
And I'm very funny around meeting new people. I think everything's a good idea like that until I actually have to do it and I realise what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to actually be able to look people in the eye because just my nature, really.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's funny. Once I started talking to somebody, or once I feel comfortable in their presence, I'm quite fine.
Yeah.
But like initially meeting someone, I'm kind of looking all over the place, looking around you, not at you necessarily.
there's two types of meetup, isn't there? There's the meetup that UUOP did, which was basically a ticketed event. Now, we don't really talk to Lee anymore. We never technically fell out with Lee. We just don't talk to him anymore.
Well, Lee decided he didn't like me anymore. That's what happened.
Yeah, basically. And their meetup was ticketed and was organised and has its own sort of problems and anxieties that go along with that. We wanted to steer clear of that type of meetup and make it very, very informal. We're there for the weekend. We're having a meetup at a certain time, at a certain location. If you're there, we'd love to see you and have a drink with you. And that's ultimately what it was. And then we tapped in and out. You know, it was surreal just being in the hotel and having people coming up to, are you Craig? Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm here for the meetup. You know, shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what different podcasts on the network, what listenership they've got. I mean, I think we hover around about 15 regular listeners every week. But
This is the thing, right? With podcasts, because we were on Lipsin, and Rob Walsh. If you listen to Rob Walsh's Lipsin podcast, Rob Walsh will give you a breakdown of listener figures, and basically, if you get over 100 downloads, you're in something like the top 10% of podcasts.
Right.
I'm just trying to find the image I sent over yesterday. Sure, I have a screenshot of it.
But I don't actually know who these people are. I mean, I've got an idea of a few of them, but.
Wow.
But the thing with podcasters is there's a big hang up on listeners and how many the figures, and they keep their figures secret, and they don't want to give out their figures for being seen as failing. Someone might have
what you're in it for, isn't it?
only get 20 downloads, if that.
Yeah,
but
you're just like having a chat at the pub, but letting people listen.
Yeah. So, I mean, and from them coming together, I've got different friends than what I would have in real life.
If you can see it,
There
that's
you go.
how many I got from the last one.
Yeah.
21, and I've not put anything else since May.
Yeah.
And 21 21 downloads.
It
I'm happy
is.
with that. That's
So this,
That's
I
funny.
can't remember what website it says, but it says if your new episode gets within 30 days of its release, more than 136 downloads, you're in the top 50% of podcasts. More than 1,100, you're in the top 20. More than 3,200, you're in the top 10. More than 7,000, you're in the top 5. More than 20,000 downloads, you're in the top 2% of podcasts, and more than 36,000 downloads, you're in the top 1%.
Like,
And
if
the thing
you
is,
held like a live show and 21 between 15 and 21 people turned up, like that would be, I mean, it wouldn't be like a brilliant turnout, but like it would be, you'd feel good about that.
when we did the quizzes, Craig, I think we had about 15 people,
Yeah.
maybe 20 people.
Yeah, we
top.
did you? I did that. Did you do that?
I have a couple of them.
Yeah,
Tried
we've
to.
only done.
I always seem to. There always seems to be something coming up that weekend when they were on. Mum was dropping the dog off, or I was absolutely shattered.
Fucking hell, that's an excuse and a half. Yeah, I couldn't come to your quiz night because Mum was dropping the dog off.
Well, she
Amazing.
drove all the way from Hartlepool for it, but
No excuse. She could have joined in.
I have been working my ass off since
The
that,
thing is,
so.
I used to kind of get, and Craig will know this because we used to have conversations about it. I used to get like a bit despondent about it because I'd be like, "Oh, we've dropped to 1,000 listeners." And Craig's like, "Yeah, but that's a good number," and yeah, it is because when I start other podcasts, they do start with really low numbers, and generally, some grow, some don't. My daughter's got a podcast. I think the first episode she got like 30 downloads or something. She had an author on the second episode that went up to like 300.
73% of our listeners are in the United States, and I'm sure that's because of you guys. Because I've no idea why they would have picked up on us otherwise.
What I used
You can have it with bollocks.
Yeah,
it could be. But no, I mean the thing is, I think and I say this because I've had friends over the years want to start podcasts, and I say the same thing to them that I now have to tell myself, which is you got to do it because you want to do it.
yeah.
Exactly.
I've got a massive failed experiment this year, right? I launched a brand new podcast. This was with a podcast content provider. This was supposed to be a big deal. I was going to get all these guests on. It's not that I'm not doing it anymore, but it's in a state of flux because I'm basically getting no support. And things are supposed to be happening in the background, but it's hard to get that going. But for that show, I've got no idea what the listenership is because I don't distribute it, so I'm not privy to how many people that's going out to. But with everything now, it's just as long as I'm enjoying doing it, I'll continue to do it.
Going back to what we were on about with friendship, if I would never have started that podcast that I'm doing on my own, if it wasn't for the friendship that I've got with you guys on this podcast now, I never even thought about doing the podcast in my life. You invited me on to Universal after that to talk about my weekend trip to reflect the weekend trip that you guys had, and I enjoyed it, and I thought, well, I can do this, and then I'm obviously starting my own.
It's
podcast.
really hard doing it on your own, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But I've been through a bad patch. I've been through I've started getting into the pandemic in May, and it's killed me. So I took a few weeks off, a few months off, and I feel it needs to come back again. And I did that little intro a couple of weeks ago. I enjoyed talking to myself again. Sounds weird, but I actually enjoyed talking to myself again. And I've been doing all the stuff with Phil, with Rad Football and the Epic Florida podcast. It's just they've kept me going to make me want to do this individual one again.
Do you think, even though it's quite a public thing, that talking to yourself in that way helps you be like more introspective?
Yeah. It's like what Paul does when he was doing his musician side. It's like a bit of a diary, but it also makes you think about.
It's a bit of therapy.
Yeah,
I might have to go back and have a listen to some of them, now because it's been a while.
If you don't feel like you're having a good week, you can listen back to the one the week before, and you think, wait a second, I had a better week that week.
I think I'm definitely going to do that. I think I'm going to go back and listen to some of them, especially the early ones when I was doing shows and stuff, just a reminder of what the world was like.
That's what I mean. Paul, you probably got into the same position I did. I was repeating the same thing week after week about I'm not playing darts, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, I'm not much more to talk about. And
it's all right when something new happens, isn't it?
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
that's a normal person's life.
Yeah.
I've decided that I'm not going to talk about that. Oh, I am going to still talk about, I think, but there's other things that I've got, potentially political things I want to say, which I might want to say, or there's my views of different things. I might start putting them across.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
And the thing is, like, for me, it has become my regular routine. I don't, going back to the friends thing, like we moved a little bit away. I wasn't doing loads of things with my friends because, most of us have got families and everything like that. But regular podcasting for me and doing at least one show a week means I've got a scheduled time where I know that I'm going to be able to spend a few hours talking about things that I enjoy. And it's been hard for me this year because, with what's been going on with Disney, whether it's the fact the parks are closed or the fact they're laying off all these members of staff or the fact the films aren't coming out, we thought a few times, do we just take some time off? And we've been able to manage to carry on, but I can't say it's been easy, but it's also given me a focus to make sure we do it, and it's done.
Yeah. And it also gives you a chance to talk to your friends.
Yeah, going back to the main topic. So, for me, it's that, but do it because you enjoy it, not because you're going to become the next Joe Rogan, because you're not.
And that's all I ever say is it's only a podcast. When people come on and so sorry, I can't.
I know, but
yeah,
at the same time, you don't appreciate some of the amount of time that I spend doing it and putting stuff together. Just because it looks like shit at the end of it doesn't mean that I haven't spent a lot of time. I mean, fuck, This Is Your Life or this your Disney Life, where it's going to be cool when it comes back next year, if it comes back. Those shows were taking me sometimes like 4 hours to edit.
Yeah,
get it right, get it to the point that I was happy with. Happy for it to go out.
Our videos as well. We've got about, I think, a straight fortnight of content altogether, just the edited stuff. But each of those videos, they took like 1 or 2 hours to film. At least a couple hours to edit.
Because when we first started the YouTube channel, I used to do all the editing at the start, didn't I? And
you can do all of it,
but I've had to just let go of that side of it because I just haven't got the time.
Yeah, but I still try and edit.
I mean, now the only editing I have to do for the main shows now is when Craig says "cunt" or something before I get to do the intro. I have to go and cut that out. But yeah,
say "cunt" all you like.
With you guys with the gaming stuff you do when you put both videos of you pointing together and then showing the game behind you. I obviously with the YouTube, I know how much work it takes to actually do that. That's why I appreciate. I watch most of it.
Syncing them up's like it's half of the battle.
I understand. When I first started doing a bit of YouTube and a bit of podcast, I didn't have a clue what I was doing.
Yeah, Craig
gave me a few tips, Nick gave me a few tips, and I actually enjoy the editing side of it. That's the weird thing.
Yeah,
it's like with video. It's like if you watch my own YouTube channel, Simon and Julie, I've just put my Paul into Corfu. I'm putting every day on.
Yeah,
I've got one more day left, and I'm enjoying putting it all together, adding some music into it, adding a bit of titles, and I love it. I actually enjoy doing that side of it.
It's
the recording bit of it's an absolute. The recording bit is remembering to actually record it so you can edit it.
Yeah,
that's the hard bit.
It's literally art. Everything that's going on is an interpretation of art.
Yeah, I enjoy
me doing that YouTube. Me doing that YouTube stuff would never come from you guys. Do your bit of YouTube.
Right.
I would never have thought of getting a camera and sticking it in my face and talking to it unless I had this friendship and this confidence
I enjoy editing the videos that I feel like I cared when it's the gaming stuff where like I cared about the game in a certain way, so like I had something to say. But if it's just the monotonous, like a lot of the series we do, I just sort of edit. I just like cut out the gaps that we're not speaking in.
Don't you find it weird though sometimes when you listen back to yourself and you find yourself laughing at how much of a fucking idiot you are?
I find myself getting genuinely angry with you in the editing process.
Yeah, but that makes it funnier. That's why I do it.
I find it therapeutic listening to myself. At first, obviously, Craig would vouch for this, because when I did my first podcast, I spoke to Craig. I said, listening to my own voice was terrible.
It's weird, isn't it? Yeah.
Now I find it very therapeutic, because I realise that I'm not speaking correctly. And then it starts slowing down. Like now, I've had a few drinks and I'm speeding up, because when I start talking really, really quick, no one can understand fucking what I'm saying. What? Because when I start talking really, really quick, yeah, exactly. So I've learned to slow myself down, but listening back to myself, it actually is quite therapeutic sometimes. I know Nick never listens to himself. He's admitted that a few times.
I listen to bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I did listen back to all it. Well, obviously, because I spent so much time editing, I did still go back and listen to This Is Your Life. And I do listen to the odd show if I want to listen to something that someone has said. You know, sometimes, especially because it's almost like a time capsule. All podcasts are like a time capsule, but especially when we're talking about news or something like that, it's interesting to go back and listen to what we said then to when it actually happened. There's been a few times that we spent years slagging off the world of Avatar coming to Disney World, and then it opened and it has actually looked to be pretty decent. So I do, but I probably don't. I pick up on the things that I need to improve on, and I probably still don't improve them. But.
What I struggle with is, and I'm not too bad now, but we were saying things, especially when Boston was on the show. We would say things, and the community that was surrounding Boston, the people that were in her bubble, would react to stuff that we'd said.
Right.
And would give her a hard time because of stuff that we said.
Right.
And
in what way?
It was
maybe a different audience.
Well, just if you say something controversial, now people don't agree with you. You can't just have a conversation and a difference of opinion. You're going on a podcast and you're offering out your opinion, and sometimes it's a controversial opinion. Sometimes there's a little bit of it where you are a caricature of yourself, where you're not being necessarily realistic. So I will sometimes overreact and.
Like the love of John Lasseter.
You know what? I remember one episode I got really concerned because you'd stormed off. And
I was going to bed because I was.
And that had been pre-planned, hadn't it?
I messaged Craig, and as soon as I listened to it, what was wrong with you? He says, "Oh, I need to go to work."
Yeah. I was actually really concerned.
Yeah, that was all pre-arranged.
Very good acting then.
Before we recorded, at a certain point, I'm going to flip my lid and I'm just going to storm off.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bed because I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I think I messaged you as well, Nick. Is everything all right with Craig? I think I messaged both of us. And what's going on? And then they both messaged that, he's ready to go to work. So we pre-planned it. So we didn't go. It was fantastic.
I've spat my dummy out a few times. And again, especially when Boston was on, because Boston wanted us to tidy ourselves up a little bit and rein ourselves in and not be as controversial. Not that we were controversial, but we were doing it for shits and giggles. And
not that you used to talk about having a shit in the shower.
I mean, but that is something Craig does. I remember when in like the first few years of Diz After Dark, and we used to get good reviews, mainly from Craig. We did get other good reviews as well, but we never used to get emails. But I would get the odd email, and the odd email was always someone complaining. And the most common complaint we ever got was, "You're too negative. You're doing a Disney podcast, but you're too negative." And I used to go, "Yeah, that's the point. The point is
Uh-huh.
that if you want to listen to one of the hundreds of other Disney podcasts that's out there that's going to put a positive spin on the worst stuff, then be my guest. Unintended.
The slight difficulty I get is not necessarily knowing whether some of it's tongue in cheek. Like you say about controversial, I mean, Craig, especially you'll go off on one, and after the time you realise at the end of it, well, once you get to know you kind of realise that it's not an act, but it's like it's a deliberate kind of. It's to wind the people up that take the shit seriously.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
There's people that take themselves a lot more seriously than yourself.
Well, that's what drew me into the Diz After Dark and Universal After Dark. It weren't that you were controversial. You were just speaking your mind, and that's what I wanted to hear. I didn't want to hear.
But what's
Disney's fantastic, Universal's fantastic.
What's weird for me?
You sound like a bunch of friends talking.
Yeah. What's weird for me is that before
them what it actually is like.
Before we submitted our podcast to the network when you were looking for new shows, I hadn't had any contact with any of you guys, but I'd been listening to Diz After Dark for a couple of years because of planning for our trip and stuff. And it is like you kind of, it's going to sound a bit stalkery, but you feel like they are your friends when you're listening to them, but you're just like the silent kind of.
No, I feel like a lot of people get that with like bigger things. I think it's called like a parasocial relationship.
But then there's a big disappointment when you meet somebody famous and they're not in real life. They're not how you thought they were or how they're portrayed.
It's not necessarily that they're a bad person. It's just a lot of people are a lot more. Well, they put on like a big confident performance, but they're quite muted in real life.
But then when you meet them in real life, they run out of the pub.
Some people are tossers. I've met plenty of celebrities who have turned out to be absolute arseholes in real life, not because they're having a bad day, just because they're generally arseholes, or think because they're in the public eye that they can treat people like shit. I remember working a wrestling show about, I don't know, must be about 8 years ago now, 7-8 years. And Hulk Hogan was one of the wrestlers. That's Macho Man, but never mind. But big like hero of mine, kind of growing up and everything. I thought, this would be quite cool. And just about to have my first child, and I thought I'm going to try and catch him.
What are you milking there?
I don't know.
I was doing Hulk Hogan's thing.
Right. Before you're allowed to finish off your story, I'm not gonna let you finish off until I say that this is cracking me up because of our connection. You probably see it if you watch the YouTube video. You all look like Max Headroom. Like you're all like stop motion kind of movement.
Excellent. Well, just
anyway,
what I wanted to be.
Carry on.
So I had a Funko Pop. I thought it'd be really nice if I could get that signed for my unborn child. And I waited for it to be a quiet time, and he wasn't doing anything, and no one was bothering him. And I went up to him and said, "Mr. Hogan, would you mind please sign this for my my child? I'm about to become a dad for the first time." And he went, "No," and walked off. And my friend went. There was a meet and greet. So this was a wrestling show that they were filming for TV, and they were doing a meet and greet. Like VIP thing, and he went to that and met him and got an autograph for me and autograph for himself, and he was like, "Oh man, he was everything I expected him to be and more. Like he was so welcoming." And I was like, "Mate, I've been watching him backstage all day. He's an absolute fucking arsehole." Like he really was just an awkward bastard the whole
kind
day.
of disowned by the WWE just for like taking a bunch of drugs.
By who?
The
No,
WWE.
he got blackballed for quite a while because he went on a racist tried for
holiday.
No, he went
racist
on a bit of a
holiday.
Rant. Yeah, he went on a bit of a racist rant, and he got picked up, and he had to go and apologise. His apology was the best thing, actually, because apparently when they decided to kind of like let him back into the fold a little bit, they said, "You've got to go and apologise to the boys in the back and everything." And he approached like the backstage locker room, got all the boys together, and he basically his apology was to apologise for what he said, but also to educate people on how to make sure they didn't say something that would be used against them later on. And it's like, I don't think you really understood the message there. I don't think that's really what people wanted to know. It was just that you were sorry for being a racist dick.
Well, not about racism, but I've kind of got to be careful. I've been doing a lot of stuff with studying to be a teacher. Obviously, they're going into the privacy issues, and basically one of the things that is likely to happen as soon as you go into a placement is that the kids are going to try and find you online. So I'm trying to rack my brains as to whether or not there's any way that they can find our podcast and our channel, because I'm really not sure whether it's all school safe, should we say?
Well, the one thing that you do, which I've said to Craig we should have done before as well, and I tried to do for a while, but it was a bit too late for me to try and change my online persona, is, you go by Orbitron.
That's not even my fucking name. He's such a friend, he doesn't know my name. Orbiter.
Fireball.
Uranus. What is it? Uranus.
Orbital, whatever. Orbital, great band. But
Uranus and Clugnut.
That's a gaming thing.
But you come on, and you immediately announce yourself under this pseudonym. So basically,
that was his idea.
Your kind of protection there.
Yeah,
is that
I'm playing
the views expressed. The views expressed by Orbitron.
Isn't he the worst transformer?
Yes,
that's it. I've changed my name now.
All the best.
Half of my ideas
each transforms into a butt plug.
Half of my ideas of what to do with the channel have basically come from channels that I enjoy.
I'll go get my snorkel.
So, like, I watch like Nerd Cubed and.
Well, see that your opening comes from there is a podcast called Hello Internet, isn't there?
Yeah, well, it's just an easy, because we tried to do something a bit more complicated and it just ended up being really cringy. So it's just nice and snappy, just saying hello Internet.
I don't remember that. When was that?
You can hear it probably in the early episodes. I don't know.
That'd be funny going back and listening to some of them.
I binged all the Breaking Bads when.
Have you? Some of them. Some of them got a bit uncomfortable, didn't they? At times.
Were you sitting on a dildo?
I thought I got away with that. Well,
I am always sitting on a dildo.
Say what now?
What?
What?
You heard enough.
What happened?
Having some more meat. That's what's happening.
On my screen, these two are froze.
Who?
You.
Us.
Yeah.
I've got 10 minutes all mine.
Your video's been out of sync the whole time for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's out of sync for us.
I think it's because they're using a GoPro and I've linked it into the computer, I think.
No, we haven't. No, we're on a webcam. Yeah, GoPros are separate. It's maybe just that connection. Who knows?
It just seems to be weird. It's like you're talking, I'm listening to you. And then like, Craig taking a picture.
What the fuck? Oh, now my head is fucked up now. Because hang on,
Strooms there.
There's a camera pointing at me that's feeding us through to you guys. You're taking a photo of your screen with us.
Nick's just not moved.
Nick's now just sitting still. How are you doing that, Nick?
He did that. You're making stop motion though, aren't you? This is not podcast material.
Is it not podcast material? Why not?
Because they can't see this if they're listening.
But you see, that's the cross-promotional thing, isn't it?
Yeah, what's the YouTube channel, you fucks? Give it views.
That should be your advert.
Breaking Bad.
What's the YouTube?
Yeah, what the fuck happened about the adverts on your network? We were the only ones that made one.
Yeah, that's what happened.
But because it was on a Google Drive and I couldn't fucking add it to a Google Drive on my phone, it won't work.
Yeah, we transfer. That's the one to use now. I found out from my professional bods.
Yeah.
What we find is we have a lot of wonderful ideas, and then
we realise they're shit.
putting it into practice.
Yeah, it's a bit like on the Universal show. We did
Like
this.
government.
We've been doing this game where we've been comparing, doing Ride Face Off. And Craig put together a lovely spreadsheet to do it, and now we're waiting for the results of that because Craig hasn't listened back to the episodes to put the new brackets in, so we can't continue.
Oh,
So-
Well,
I
I did.
wonder where that was. Where it was
I've
going.
lost all the paperwork. I have.
And where the fuck were
Oh,
you? We were supposed to record with Australia this morning, and you didn't come back.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
You were recording in Australia?
We were supposed to. We do another podcast called Half the World Away.
Oh, is that coming back?
It was supposed to come back this morning, but Craig didn't actually confirm.
Cool.
He said, "Oh, I'll come back to you on that," and then didn't fucking.
Yeah, I'm sure that's
Do
still in
anything.
my feed, but it's not appeared for a long
Yeah,
time.
we've only done 2 episodes, but it's only a quarterly show. We've still got chat time.
I might have to put a Gentleman of Pop Culture back on my feed because I took them off because I didn't have time to listen to everything. So
I don't know how much we've actually talked about friendship in this.
Well, we're giving an example of what friendship is, aren't we? We're just
Well,
having
I can tell you how much we've talked about friendship, the same percentage that the donations from the Trump fundraiser are actually going to his political campaign. So
we made reference to it.
It's made a nice kind of circle back round
Nice
to
circle.
where we started.
Yeah.
And if anybody
What is that?
listening to this is a flat earther, I want to hear it on Simon show. What's it called? Simon and Phil's.
Beyond.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I'm
Ghost
full.
Aliens and Beyond.
Ghost Aliens and Beyond, yeah, in the new year. I love flat earthers because you're fucking stupid.
Bastards.
And if you're a flat earther, please don't listen to my podcast. Thank you.
I mean, I'm getting very sozzled soon now-ish already.
What's your thought on the mead? Is it?
It's doing the job.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
That was
like-
alright. I just had that out with
What's that?
Dry one.
Jim Beam.
It's like somebody.
no Jack Daniel's rye.
It's
Oh.
either a very small bottle or you're very
45%.
far away.
It's a very small bottle. It's on my handmade calendar. I told you earlier.
It's a double. It's a single double.
Well, he has. I've had 2 of them.
Good
Yeah.
lad.
That's a
No
double.
one listening to the podcast can see what bottles
me's
you're
gone.
in. Yeah.
Well, it hasn't gone.
They'll
It's
have to go to the last 5 minutes of the YouTube show, but see it all. Then, won't
still
they?
in our glasses. What?
Exactly.
Why have we finished?
Watch your 2.5 hours before it as well.
Can we talk about friendship for a bit in a way that's like not directly related to podcasting?
Bathing each other. Have you ever bathed
I'm-
with one of your
Is
friends?
that part of your regular friendship?
I've had some friendships.
When
In the past.
I was at school, I used to pee up the wall at the school.
did not everyone do
that?
Competition. Yeah, that was junior school. We did that. I was never any good
Let's
at it.
talk about friendship. Oh yeah, I used to piss
Let's
off
talk about friendship. Oh, we spaffed up
We
the
used to have a
wall.
race.
all right, okay, all right. So going back around to something that was mentioned earlier on, I've got a very similar friendship with
I
one
thought
of my,
you were going to say a brand new combine harvester then.
if only I did.
It's like a
But
decade
with
old
one
meme.
of my friends, he now lives in Brighton. I obviously don't live in Brighton, unfortunately. But we would go years without really speaking much to each other. And the last couple of years, we've we made more time to talk because we've started going to live wrestling, or we did. Obviously, that's stopped now because of COVID. But we would go to shows every 4 or 5 months or so. But we've started to try and make more of an effort, and it's been really nice to do that because it's something that we kind of neglected for a while. But the point is, going back to what you were saying, is even in those times where there were long gaps when we didn't see each other or we didn't speak to each other, when we did meet up, it was as if time hadn't passed.
Yeah.
We looked a bit different. We looked a bit older. Our diets may have changed. He's like full sign up membership card carrying member and tattooed member of the vegan family. But when we do meet up, it is just like nothing has really changed, and that's probably the sign of a good friendship. That is how that relationship.
But I think that
works.
That particular friend I was talking about that with, the last time I saw them, they turned up in Aberdeen, and we basically went for we spent an hour basically before they had to get the train back again, and it was like, for that hour, it was almost like, because you go straight back into the relationship you had then, it's like getting back a part of your old self. You know how you change over time.
Yeah.
But suddenly when you're back with them, it's like, I remember who I was now. It's
I
like...
don't think I've really had that at that point. Like,
Well, only 17.
Well, no, but like, I don't think I've had.
Yeah, you're not gonna have that yet.
I don't think
if you
I
do,
currently
you're gonna regress to a 9-year-old.
have a
Pubes
friend
older
like
than you,
that.
lad.
I'm sure you do, and I'm sure you keep them in jars, well preserved.
I haven't got any pubes.
Yeah.
What a comeback.
What was your first proper friend in school?
I don't know.
Who are you talking to?
I was quite
Everyone.
aggressive towards most people at
Hey.
that age, so I didn't make friends easily.
Okay, so what was your first proper friend in school? Not people who you didn't make friends with. Who was the first person you can call a friend from school?
Keith Norman. Keith Norman, don't you know him?
Yeah,
Well-
wasn't he the drummer in the Who?
and how did that friendship blossom? Was it sitting next to each other
it
in
didn't-
class, or
We were both the kind of geeks that everyone bullied, really.
That checks. I think I invited. It was like a friend that I had in primary school.
He was intelligent, unlike a lot of the others, so we got on all right.
I think I invited him to like my birthday party in like first year secondary school, and we haven't talked since because we just travel in different circles.
But is he not the one that said he didn't like pizza?
No, that was someone else.
Oh,
right.
fuck him.
so mine was Keith Hannah. Now this is year 1 in seniors, which
The
is
fucking Keiths.
I know, is that year 7 now? Is it? Yeah.
My
I don't know
first
what the
friend
years
called
are.
Keith was.
I don't think
basically-
I've ever met
Seventh,
Keith.
first year of secondary school.
We
Basically-
live near Keith. There's a village near here called Keith.
I threw his bag over a wall. Now Keith was only a tiny little fella. I threw his bag over a wall, and he
Most
couldn't
people are
get
at
his
that
bag.
age.
He literally couldn't get the bag back. So one of the other lads had to climb over the wall to get the bag to get back. So he offered me out,
Yeah.
and we ended up having a fight in a cemetery on the way home from school because of me wronging Keith Hannah. And then from that, me and Keith Hannah become really good friends for basically the rest of school. And we never fell out, but just life changed. Just we went on different paths. He became
So your first friendship was born out of guilt.
potentially, yeah. But do you know what? Keith Hannah was, whereas my mother wouldn't. One of the big stories of my childhood, I can remember all my mates wanting to. It's 1992, so when I say childhood, I would have been 18 at this point. So I'm an adult, but I'm on a YTS. I'm on £30.
Yeah,
a week.
but you're still pretty like childish now, I think. So
That's just rude, isn't it?
That is rude. Slap him. So basically, I'm 18. I'm on £30 a week, and all my mates are going to Blackpool on the piss, on the train, and then on the piss. And I didn't go because my mum wouldn't cancel me. I had to pay rent. So I was on £30 a week. I had to give my mum like £20 of that in rent every week.
You see how
So-
good you got it.
I give you £100 a month.
Yeah, but that's not 2/3 of what you get.
But when I went out with Keith Hannah, he always got me a drink. And when I couldn't get a
Aw.
round in, he always got the round in.
you think he was trying to get you drunk?
No, he was just a fucking top bloke. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I still, I messaged him the other day. He lives in Leicester now, and I messaged him on. I sent him a text message, because I've got his number for the first time in about 3 years. Just checking how he was, checking he was still alive, basically with the pandemic going on.
Yeah.
And we've had a few texts back and forth, but we haven't had a pint together for about 10 years now.
That reminds me of when I was at college. There was that best friend that I was talking about that I don't see for years and then I speak to again. We were best friends in first year, and I was basically a cunt to him.
As you are.
Yeah. And we.
Did you finger his mum?
No, I just went off with a different crowd, and they took the piss out of him, and I didn't really stop him, and I was a cunt basically. But anyway, one of the guys that I fell in with, I lived with for a couple of years, and we used to do all sorts of substances and got into all sorts of debt and trouble, and it was a really fun time, but it had major bad consequences. Anyway, years later, I found out the guy had
one leg.
No, he'd been. I mean, we used to risk our lives together. We used to climb out on the roofs and sit on chimneys of houses in Wembley, like pissed out of our heads, just for the laugh.
Sweet love.
We used to take all sorts of substances and somehow got away with it. And in the end, I found out years and years later that he got killed by a hamster.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about
a hamster in a test tube. Please.
No, I found out that what had happened, he'd grown up and presumably become a responsible adult. He had family, he had kids.
That's not mutually exclusive.
No, apparently. But the family pet hamster had bitten his finger, and he stupidly hadn't gone to the doctors with it. It had gone septic, and he'd eventually died of septicemia less than 2 weeks later.
Nice.
That got fucking dark, didn't it?
But it's like,
did you go to his fucking funeral at least?
I didn't know about it. It was actually the guy who was the friend of mine that I'd fucked off originally was the one that told me about it. And
I had a friend once who had no legs. He was so poor he had no legs.
And did he have to sell them?
Was he like an amputee?
No, he just never had them.
Are you pulling our legs here metaphorically?
Oh, Simon, tell us your friend's story, Simon.
Well, he was a guy I went to school with in primary school, secondary school, went to college with, and I still speak to him every year. Send him a birthday card. He sends me a birthday card because he was born on the 13th of April. I was born on the 15th of April, and we was in beds next to each other in the hospital, and we lived on the same street.
No way.
Really weird. I understand that, but we were still friends now, and we were in the same class in primary school, secondary school. He went to one college, I went to another college, but we've still been friends since, and I actually still see him at least.
Who was born first?
Every 2 months. He's 2 days older than me.
He's 2 days younger. So when you die, he's going to shit himself.
Yeah. I always send him a Christmas card and a birthday card and the birthday card is always have a drink on me. It's got a tea bag strapped to it.
Cool.
I've done that for 37 years now. 20 odd years sending him a card, but
does he send one back?
Yeah, he does. He sends me a Christmas card, birthday card, and the happy birthday message every year.
I can't remember the last time I sent a Christmas card or a birthday card.
Well, it's the only one I do. I actually do send Christmas cards to all the people who tip me on my walk for being a postman. So if you know me, give me a tip and you get a Christmas card. Thank you.
Tip your postman, people. Tip your postman. Mine's been very good this year. He's going to get a very nice tip.
I always tell my postman,
you might want to rephrase that.
When you go out. There's my tip.
I'm going to suggest that we finish up soon.
Don't wipe on. You're the ones don't wipe on the curtains.
I just want to say, I'm not trying to wind it up, but it's been a fantastic. I've had a shit.
Is this the bit of the podcast where you talk now for 20 minutes about winding up the podcast?
No. It's been a shit day because I reversed into one of my colleagues today. Their car, and broke their number plate. So
What did you do that for?
Well, see, we had a new guy starting. We had a new guy starting, and I had to take.
Can't Papa John pay for that?
They are paying for it, yeah.
Hey.
What happened is they'd put this guy in the passenger seat with me just to take him out on one run, just to show him how you deliver a pizza, because it's really difficult. And I was talking to him while I was reversing.
Push the slices through the letterbox.
Well, I mean, he's Russian, so I just had to.
Slow down.
What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know.
He's going to knobby chop someone.
Well, pizza's Italian, isn't it? So it's kind of. Anyway, yeah. So I was busy talking to him and reversed into it because I've got one of them fancy parking alarm things. When you it did. It's just I wasn't listening for it. So anyway, his number plate fell off. But we all have to use them dash cams with the rear view footage. So they basically took a
pizzas in the rear view mirror.
Took a picture of it in the paper.
Than they are.
See, what happens if you go dogging with that?
What do you mean? What happens if I go dogging with that?
Bit of meatloaf.
What? I don't know.
That's recording all the time.
Why does dogging always come up on our podcast? Fucking hell, things got serious. Nick started praying.
Has anyone ever
I've started losing the will to live. That's what that wasn't praying, that was losing the will to live. Or maybe it was praying that somebody would take me away.
See, this is what it's like after over 2.5 hours of a podcast, but next time there's a meet-up and there's alcohol involved, this was probably just be the warm-up.
There won't be another meet-up.
We're stopping after this episode.
I can't risk this happening.
You'll be the fella who comes in with a bag of mushrooms and a machete.
Who are you talking to now?
You.
Oh, why?
Some of us will die, and it'll be the worst meet-up in history. It'll
Magic
be known as
just
the
like
After Dark
Portobello.
Massacre.
I think some people will get a kick out of that, to be fair.
As long as we record it and put it out on Anchor, it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's quite a few views.
It's all content.
It is, yeah. Has anybody got anything else interesting to say?
Well, I was going to talk about how it's interesting, like, going to university, trying to move to an entirely new friendship group, but, like, we've been talking for 2.5 hours and I haven't been able to...
Well, it is interesting doing that over the internet.
Yeah, well, that's
essentially what we've been doing with these cunts for how long.
I guess. But it's sort of interesting because the only chance I really get to talk to people is during social events that are, like, quite planned out.
That went quiet.
Oh, glad he's finished. Like, I didn't want to interrupt your flow.
Oh, right, okay. Well, it's
Have you got any uni mates now? Because it's been a while, hasn't it?
Any what?
It's difficult to really
uni
know.
Mates.
You know that sort of line when you're like, are we friends? Like, we seem to hang out a lot, but we don't really know each other that well.
You know what? I think that you've hit the nail on the head a little bit for me, because I just automatically assumed I had these people that were friends because that was my relationship with them. When in reality, it was no different really to having like a work colleague.
Well, yeah,
you're there for a purpose and you're there out of circumstance, not because of...
Is this a roundabout way of trying to tell us that we're just podcast colleagues?
Most of my school group of friends that like...
3 hours it's taking to get that out, but yeah.
We would hang out for like hours a week, and like most of them I thought were fucking assholes, and like I kind of got away from secondary school, not specifically to get away from them, but just to get away from that environment.
Yeah.
So if you're listening now, fuck off.
The fire.
Some of them do listen, don't they?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm
One of
sorry
my work
if
colleagues
you weren't
on
that.
Merseyrail back in the 90s said to me,
Oh, here it comes fucking Merseyrail.
So you're a cunt.
he basically said it was a Christmas night out. I was going, "Are you coming? Are you coming? Are you coming? Are you coming? Are you coming?" And eventually he said, "Craig, I work with you. I don't have to drink with you."
Oh, sorry, I thought this was going to be a sexual story when you were going, "Are you coming? Are you coming? Are you coming?"
and basically we were work friends. But
Yeah.
he had his own group of friends.
Nick's
And
fucked
he didn't
up.
interact with the railway. And that's what you are in university. If you're very lucky, some of them will be friends for life.
Yeah.
But probably 90% of them, 95% of them even, are just there because they're there.
Yeah, it's a lot more of a professional sort of environment, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that where you kind of pay for people to be your friend for a little while?
I think
Well, you're
that
just
the
thrown
prostitutes-
together for this moment in time, aren't you? Basically.
Oh, Whitney Houston, eat your heart out.
It depends on what happens. It depends what happens afterwards, doesn't it?
Well, like, a
I
number
went
of them will be going to different countries like next year.
I worked
Not
at
through
Preston
choice.
for 7 years, and when I got a job at Lime Street and come back to Liverpool, all the Preston people had been. It was like going through Vietnam together. We'd done nights for like 7 years on and off, where we'd be together for every night for a week. We went
Is that
through
how
shit
bad
together.
it is?
You've been eating dogs and
and fucking
shooting
fucking
villages,
monkeys.
burning villages down.
Yeah, and chopping arms off.
Just
and
the
eating
lads'
pizza.
night out.
And when I
Right,
changed
pillaging.
depots, they just blank you when you get to London Euston. You walk right past you.
Yeah.
The same person who you went through shit through.
Mhm.
It's life. If you're lucky, some of them, I've still got Preston friends.
Hey, flash forward, right? Are we going to still be having these pointless discussions and talking about a potential meetup that never happens in about 20 years' time?
Fucking
No.
hope not.
They'll all be uploaded by then and living on the moon.
or dead from COVID 2025. Yeah, I think that. I mean, everyone's circumstance is different. You will have this conversation with some people and they'll say, "Oh, I've got an abundance of friends" or anything like that. But for me, I realised, it took me a long time, but I realised that friends aren't always who you think they are. As in, your idea of a friendship or what someone means to you may not be the same as it is for them.
Yeah.
And for me, very much like I've been accused of being very easy to fall in love, which is probably very true if you look at my history.
But you
I think,
easily fall in love, or people find it easy to fall in love with you?
Oh fuck no! I'm not fuking no.
No,
That's
I've
no.
roomed with him.
No.
Do you know the hair that he sheds? It's like rooming with a fucking Alsatian.
But on that, it's very much that if someone was nice to me, or we had something in common, or we were talking about something, I'd probably think, "Oh, that person's a friend of mine." When actually that wasn't it at all. It was just at that moment we had a shared interest, or we had a moment in time because of the situation we were in.
Yeah,
it was just what it was.
I find it
so
very
now-
easy to get overly attached to people.
Yeah. And as I've learned more about that as I've learned more about myself, and also why I do some of the things I do in the way that I do them, which kind of got ignored, most of my life. So now I do have a different kind of perspective on things and a different way of looking at things. But yeah, I think some of it is down to your personality. Some of it is down to how you understand all relationships to be. And
you show,
and that goes for friends and family.
but you show different parts of your personality to different people based on your relationship with them as well, don't you? And I think possibly the best friendships are the ones where you are most yourself and you're not kind of playing a part. It's maybe why the work friendships don't always carry outside of work, because you're your role at work then.
But then,
and
sometimes as well, though, you have this weird relationship in work where you might be with the same taxi driver every night for 3 or 4 years. And that taxi driver, you're with them for 2 hours a shift. And what else have you got to talk about apart from your own personal experiences?
Yeah.
And sucking his cock.
And getting licked out in a lay-by.
It can't be a coincidence that it's the same taxi driver that comes to pick you up every night.
His
I want
arsehole's
Dave
like
again.
a fucking flag.
But no, I think roles and masks is very true as well. Secondary school, I didn't have. Again, looking back, I didn't have really any friends. I had people I hang around with, but I wasn't in their friendship circle. I was just somebody that was there. And when I got to sixth form, that was the first time I thought I found a group of actual friends. And that was because I remember like the first day I was with this new group of people. They were in my school, but were in different classes or we didn't know each other. I made them laugh, and suddenly I found that was like a good icebreaker. So I've kind of lived the life of like the clown, I suppose, the idiot in the room. And whilst I am obviously an idiot, there was a bit of an emphasis on an act that I would hide behind, and didn't necessarily realise that's what I was doing, but that's something that I'm guilty of doing, and it's because I found something that made people seem to like me. And I think sometimes that also has an effect as well in how you do things. Certainly in my experience, again, everyone's going to have different ones, but that was certainly mine.
Yeah, no, I often
basically what
like,
I'm saying is I'm a sad, lonely wanker, and I have.
And we all.
If someone laughs at like a
it.
stupid joke I make, I will get insanely easily attached to them and start thinking that they actually like me when they're just being polite.
You know what they say, birds of a feather.
Kindred spirits. Spirits.
I feel like we should be winding up because it's like... sorry, carry on,
Friends
Simon.
come and go, but podcasts are forever.
That's true. That's very true.
Everything on the internet is forever.
Yeah, even that episode with Ben.
That's all that came
sure,
through. I just had to change my headphone.
I'm sure we can get that deleted permanently if you really want to. I know people that know people.
Or just re-upload it so we can all listen to it again.
I'm not actually sure. Is that podcast still out? Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't delete that account, did I?
Well, we had an argument on it.
Fucking hell. Guys, the second GoPro just ran out of battery.
Yeah, that's when we know we should wrap up.
Have we beat the other episode?
We've got 3 minutes. We've got 3 minutes to go for 3 hours. Come on.
No. I think we should leave it under 3 hours. That'd be even better.
Well, let's face it. We haven't done the outro yet, so there's going to be afterbirth, isn't there? Which are probably.
Have we finished the main body of discussion at least?
I've finished with the main body.
Okay.
Friends are cunts that you can fuck sometimes.
Well, yeah, I think we should let you guys head off soon because it's getting pretty late.
That's a really polite way of saying fuck off.
No, I feel like we're keeping you here and you feel like hostages.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think we would be here if we didn't think we were all friends. I don't think we'll be here for 3 hours.
Yeah, but for this long.
Yeah. Question is anybody gonna how
much media we had?
How much what? Is anybody going to listen to it for that long? Because people look at a podcast, they think, "Oh fuck, it's 3 hours. I'm not going to bother."
I will.
I will listen. I will listen to this back. I always do because I just let it play when I'm working.
Simon will listen to this back because he's too drunk to remember what the content of the whole episode is.
But it's also because all we're doing at the moment at work is putting Christmas songs on, and I'm sick to death of fucking Christmas songs.
Wait till they put the Easter songs on.
Well, tonight I was supposed to wrap presents and watch Noel for another podcast that we're doing.
I
So
heard about that.
this
Yeah.
has given me a reason to do neither of those two things.
Yeah.
Well, we just saved you from doing that.
Yeah. Don't go blaming
Well,
us.
they still need to be done. They still need to be done.
Oh.
Just
Well, we
not
saved
been
you
done.
for one night.
Yeah.
So, do the thing.
What do you want to record tomorrow, Nick?
The what?
The
Pure
outro.
masturbation for 3 hours.
Well, I'm waiting to.
We're going to do the outro, and then we can masturbate or whatever.
I would rather not be present for that if you're gonna do that.
You'll just wait till you're asleep in bed.
GoPros off. GoPros off.
No change from usual then.
Just teabag you. You just wake up with his balls in your gob.
Anyway, are we all right to wrap up?
Go ahead then,
Yeah.
lad.
That's what we're
Crack on,
waiting
as
for.
my old nan used to say.
Anyway,
You never knew I was going to interrupt the
Fuck
outro. Oh no, that was a new
I
thing
will
last
slap
episode,
you.
wasn't it?
I will slap
first
you
time.
right now. I didn't slap you during the anniversary recording. I will do it
This
now.
is the worst outro since the last
Fuck
outro.
off.
You need
I
to
have been
brush up on
Fireball.
outro.
And
I have been fucking Fireball.
I haven't. I'm the orbiter.
The orbital.
The orbitron.
I've firebolt on the anal probe.
They have been drunk cunts.
I've fired my bolt.
I have fired my bolt twice during this
And
record.
I had a tin of mackerel.
Literally, I've had a tin of mackerel on a podcast.
Do you want to do any sort of outro for yourself, plugging stuff?
No, I don't. I mean, think about it, right? We're going to war with France tomorrow over mackerel, and I've just had some on this podcast.
Hey, just out of interest, I mean, I know it was mentioned the last time we did an ego, but we're not going to get that fourth one done before the end of the year, are we? Or are we?
It's up to Craig.
Yeah, we will, yeah.
I can't even remember what decade I've got. Sorry.
No, neither can I. Neither can I. I would just like to say thank you for having me on. Thank you for your false friendship, all of you, and it's been a treat. And if you want to hear more from me, I mean you don't. I've been speaking for almost 3 hours. Then I'm on other podcasts. Thank you.
Whee! So am I.
Indeed. And they're all worth listening to.
Yeah.
None of
thank
them
you
are
for,
Very, very degrees of success.
well, thank you for listening to me ramble on while I've been drunk. And Nick, I'll give you the key to the handcuffs later on.
What?
I could literally get in my car and be inside Simon within an hour.
That's
An
true.
hour?
That's
You
true.
know, it only takes me 25 minutes to get to K-Tams. You're around the corner, aren't you?
Boom.
Well, it takes him a while to get his erection up. So.
Yeah. Gotta find the last one.
Thank you,
Put
Blue
down the shaft.
Chew.
Well,
But thanks for having me on, guys. I really enjoyed it.
if the only
I don't get
place,
drunk and having a chat
if we only
with some friends.
if we only hear from you, in other words, like if we don't get to be face to face, as it were, again, I'm not making any sense, but have a good Christmas. I shall hear lots from you before that on podcasts, and hopefully next year we might actually get to meet. Maybe, who knows?
And that has
See what
been
maybe brings us.
a very long-winded outro before me saying that this has been episode 74, Friendship.
Bye.
Bye.
I thought you'd done the
I
outro fucking ages
Just did
ago.
it 3 hours.
Christmas, one and all.
Oh yeah,
Bless us.
did we beat? I think we've beaten Ben.
No, we haven't.
I'd
That
like-
was a
I
lot
think we should all
longer.
beat Ben, to be honest.
With his crutches. Nick's just fucking ran off to shit.
He's gone
He's
to get. He's getting a tin of mackerel.
He's told me it's been right on his G-spot for the last hour, and he's come a month's load.
He's just shitting back and forth forever.
There was a girl who used to wank you off when I was a scally. She used to try and finger your arse.
I don't think this should come after the outro.
Have you got a phone
Yeah,
number?
it should have been put in before.
I'm
yeah, she thought that when you stuck a finger up your arse, you'd come in once load. So I didn't go near her for about 2 days.
Okay.
Right, on that note, guys, thank you very much.
Yes, thank
yeah.
you. I feel like
Are you going to do an outro now to the outro when we've all gone?
Simon's fucked off.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
all
You
just
say
go
me
to...
back.
it's
but
20 to
I'm going.
1. Yeah, yeah, cool. Thank you very much, Nick.
Let's all
Bye.
just go. Let's leave Simon.
Yeah,
Bye, Simon.
I could leave Skype on and it'd just be an empty room. He's fucked off. Now we can talk about them.
Oh, we get to just review Simon's room.
Well, actually, that's all that's on the YouTube channel now.
Is it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because our camera gave out.
Got,
I'm not sure if he's...
I'm not sure if that's is that a blanket, do you think? The Toy Story thing?
I think so, yeah. The claw!
And then, what's
Do you
that
think-
poster for?
Right.
It looks like something Star Warsy.
Let's record a hidden message for good old Simon before he comes back.
What's our hidden message?
I don't know. Toast. A toast. He's
Oh.
back. He's back. They fucked off.
Never mind, I heard the message. I heard every single word you were saying.
They fucked
I'm
off.
going for a piss.
I mean, it's good that you muted before doing that.
Exactly. I just thought, I'll mute myself because I'm going for
Of
a
course,
piss.
because you got your
I don't know
earphones in, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, we're gonna fuck off and
Yeah, I know. I figured
Stuff.
everyone would go in, so I thought I'm not going to take you for a piss because I was holding it in for about the last 45 minutes.
it's been a monumental episode. I think we probably did address friendship at some point.
I think we did. I think, to be honest, mate, it could have been an absolute car crash, but it was actually I actually enjoyed just listening to other people.
Yeah.
Life. That was good.
That's like 90% of our content.
That was good. I'm glad you could make it. I know you're really busy with work and stuff during the week. So
Well, I have now been up for 19 hours.
oh fucking hell. We'll let you go then. We'll let you go.
Hey,
and
my good friends kept me awake.
yes, absolutely.
It's not usually the effect they have on me, but
Yeah, and by the way, yes, it is a blanket.
Right, come on, let's fuck off and
Right,
and
yeah.
'cause-
You go back. I'll have some more beers and you can go to bed.
yeah. Okay, thank you very much for making an appearance, and we shall see you.
with
When we
very
see you.
delayed in our top image, so
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I've
it's-
had all day.
that's what
what I've tried to do is listen to you and not watch you.
That's funny as fuck.
anyway, hopefully this doesn't make it into the edit.
Of
but
course it fucking will.
yeah.
Right.
Shall we say goodbye?
I think we're trying to, yeah. Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I don't know how to hang up. But bye. So now we've got the intro out of the way with those friends. Shall we record the rest of the podcast?
Or more.
Nah, I can't be arsed. Let's fuck off.
This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast Network.